We intend to offend, we will offend, and if you have a delicate sensibility, click the X button in the corner, or if you're on a Mac, the red button in the left corner. Monty, welcome to the show of offending people.
Well, it never happened and I make shit up. So just, for the last couple of weeks, everyone that has asked for a reading, apparently you're all from Scotland, from Hurley in Scotland. You all live the same lives. It's very metaphysical, because we're all one. And I can't read the Akashic Records. I didn't even have a card.
Meow, meow, and meow again. Farting Unicorn Productions presents Friday Comedy Show, joined by Montessori's Dean Rex and Melissa Hocking Hughes. Welcome again, everybody, to another Friday Comedy Show. And everybody that's in comedy chat land, that's listening on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or anywhere else, if you want to be a part of the callers that are going to be coming in today, you must be in the Zoom room. Robert is going to put up some information along with those pictures of his kids as he's cleaning up his spilled drink in the background. There have been a comedy of errors before this show.
There really is.
So, everyone, and my mic is hot as fuck. Hold on, I gotta lower my volume here.
Dear viewer, I'm totally fine, by the way. Nothing's happened to me.
Nothing yet?
Yeah. So I just feel left out, so that's why I mentioned it. That's why I mentioned it, so something will happen. I'm sure Scoffy will make an appearance.
All right, everyone. So you have the information to get into the Zoom room. Leave that at that. So, gentlemen, ladies, children of all ages, and everyone that's in the chat room today, this is a comedy show. It does not call up and ask for your fucking purpose or anything else as related to things that are historical reading sessions. Unless you have something truly comical to tell us, we won't venture to that space. You must tell us when you stub your toe, what's it like for you? Okay. Or anything else that is comical or things that we regularly revisit on this show, because it is meant to be not serious. With that being said, I will pass the torch of conversation to our unique friends, Monty and Melissa.
So I was wondering where we're going.
I'm passing it to you to decide.
Passing it to us. I have to wonder what has gone on. What has made you throw that out this morning, this evening, where you've said to people, we're not talking about your purpose or anything else. What's going on? What sort of demands have you had this week?
In the background, I have some of my mentorship students from early on. They want to do a trip to Europe. And so we decided we're going to do a Scotland bus tour, and we've nicknamed it What's My Purpose Tour.
Ooh.
So that has been on my mind all week. So anybody that's listening, yes, there's going to be a bus tour being planned in the Scottish Highlands next year. So keep that up. We're just in the beginning of the planning phase, just contacted the first groups of busing groups, and we're going to make it a blast, probably 10 days, all inclusive. And you're going to get me the entire time, and we're going to go and do some amazing stuff.
And the real question is,
on the way back, let's stop off in London and do a bit of a show.
Well, more than that, there's an option to do a second tour of all the museums too.
In the UK.
Right. But last time I did a museum in Egypt, I was, oh my God, I swore I'd never do it again. So I don't know about the British dark rituals versus the Egyptian dark rituals. We shall see.
Ooh, well, we've got to go, Mont. We've got to go too. We'll have to book on the bus.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see what type of Scotland you go to. Will it be part of the UK or independent? So that'll be fun. And also the museums in London. It'd be great to see all where the profits from looting are, because that's basically what the last 5-6 years the British museums are like. Yeah, sorry, you can have this back. They've been saying that a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not happening though. They're not actually sticking it in the post.
Well, no. Well, have you seen the prices
no.
after lockdown? Oh, man.
Well, that's the thing. The
Oh.
prices have come way down, but we're booking it now because the prices are going to go way up next year. All the bus companies
to
are
eagle
telling
eye,
us the
pretty
same.
much everything is pagan in Scotland. Like, you can call it many other things of corruption and interruption since everything was pagan in Scotland, but pretty much everything is pagan. You don't have to do a pagan tour in Scotland. It all is.
I remember seeing a diagram of like, here is a ley line, and there's 1,000, a bracket of 1,000 years of churches and temples all being made on the. You go, this is from this thing. Just follow a ley line, and it won't be linear history, but you'll see a lot of histories like here's a 13th century one, and here's a 15th century. Like,
only about an hour ago, I was talking about the Rose Line, talking about speaking of powerful lines and how they've been misconstrued and how we've been conditioned differently in desperation to shut down the true power of who we are. So I was talking about the Rose Line and said to people, go and check out Da Vinci Code. You can read the book or you can watch the movie. Book's way better, but that's usually how it is. And but you've got to like that the man did his research. Like, yeah, he turned it into a great novel, so it's a little corrupted along the way, but the truth is in there. But it's power lines. No, the UK is awesome, and I've just had a heap of people nagging me to go over, so that's a great opportunity for us. I definitely want to be on the bus.
I would recommend going in summer. If you're going to Scotland, go in summer. So what, June, July?
Well, tentatively right now, it's for the June solstice. I'm sorry, yeah, solstice. So yeah, so if not, we'll figure it out. But right now, some very weird things are going on with the fuel and how much the buses are going to actually charge because they've got a prep for the year. But so everything's going to go way up. That's why we're trying to book everything early.
Oh my God, what a mess it is. The financial mess over there at the moment. And the gas lines. I mean, I absolutely lost it laughing this morning when I saw an article come out in mainstream generic global media about how they'd found an intact Russian passport in the gas bubbles above where the gas lines have been exploded.
Just like 9/11, after a building falls, they found
that's
it.
what happened.
Wait, hang on.
Of course, someone going down and planting a bomb on a gas line is going to take his passport.
No, I think what's happened there is the mainstream media has picked up on the meme and used it. Because that's been a meme for about a week. Like Russian passport found at
it's actually like the article actually talks about the it's not just talking about the joke of it, like you're saying about the meme. They're actually talking about the possibility that they've left some sort of evidence. Seriously, if some clandestine diver has gone down there and planted stuff on the gas lines, do you really think they're going to accidentally leave evidence of identity?
And then how does the passport stay there without the tides pulling it back and forth?
It's on the bubbling effect. I mean, basic physics. It's not going to sit there in the middle of a kilometre-wide pool of bubbling gas. And also, it's bubbling gas on salt water. Do you really think it would be intact?
No, it wouldn't.
I don't know. I mean, some of those passports survived 9/11. So, and then they couldn't find the black boxes. So, I mean, people have the idea of, why don't you make the black boxes out of those passports?
Yeah.
But that's right. But it's but mind you, back to the cost of fuel and basic utilities and what the hell's happening over in the UK. Oh my God. And of course the enormous financial mess, and I think currently their government's injected $62 billion trying to save the pound. But that's going to be a lot more.
Yeah,
they're going to keep injecting until October 14th, apparently.
That's not including all of the teachers and firefighter union and police unions who all of their funds are going tits up hardcore.
Yeah.
And the silver market is being squeezed because early in the summer there was a hard squeeze on silver. So there's not enough silver now to fulfill actual silver orders, which is now triggering some of the bigger dark secrets inside London's metal exchanges.
Well, yeah, to be slightly pedantic, Max Keisner, awesome guy. If you get to see him, he's been saying for years, buy physical silver because it will bring down Goldman Sachs. Yep. And so they've oversold. There's all the paper silver and not the physical silver. But what you're referring to now is it's been exposed because even in their shell game, they've done it too far. And yeah, if you want to help bring down the economy and the evil side of things, actually buy physical silver because
actually that's an illusion too.
Ooh.
So once crypto died and all those people lost their crypto money, they went to silver, and the silver guys weren't ready for it.
That's right.
Because they had only had like 4 months since the silver squeeze in early July. And that was a really big silver squeeze that was brought on by the people in the Reddit group, that Reddit, the ones that were trying to save AMC and GameStop, stuff like that. And they were trying to get them into that. And they got a lot of people into the silver squeeze, but they survived. Also, JP Morgan Chase is really big into it. And if you do some research, all of the metals groups, banks in Britain over the last years have had like $4 billion in fines for fixing the markets. $4 billion in fines. And that didn't even blink at billions in dollars of fines. Anyways, the amount of silver that's being delivered isn't equal to the amount of silver that's needing to go out. That's not that big of a deal, but silver is not being produced from Russia, which is a significant portion of those commodities that have 20 years of futures already bought to them, which makes the shell game even tougher. And then the silver that is actually being shipped from the mine, because of this transportation squeeze, is not making it to the banks. Oh, and then they found silver bars that had tungsten inside of them too.
Now, my dear viewers, if you aren't following what Andrew's saying 100%, there's a movie that I would recommend. It's called Trading Places, starring Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, we're seeing anyway.
It's worth seeing because it's a comedy. However, the framework in the story, you've got those two old men that destroy lives for spoiler for $1, but it's all about the stock exchange and futures and everything else like that. It is a Mortimer, yes. I'm just realizing now, like, I recommend The Big Short about the global financial crisis in 2008. That explains how that all happened. But then watch Trading Places, because you'll be laughing and you'll be learning all the financial stuff. What was it, 82, 84? It was like early 80s.
Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, and it's awesome.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes, always Jamie. Yes, we love a bit of Jamie.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Well, then, not now.
But
no,
she's still gorgeous. But she's
but she's not right in the head.
It actually is. I've actually got my kids to watch that movie to understand how vulnerable stock market and money systems actually are to a few corrupt parties. So that's actually how I got my kids to actually understand what goes on in the stock market, because particularly my two eldest girls were looking to invest. They want to, this is what should I invest? How should I do it, Mum? And I was saying, okay, let's watch this first so you can see how vulnerable it is and whether or not you want your money to play that game.
I was going to ask, you didn't show it to the twins, because I'd love you to explain the scene where Frank Oz is the police officer that arrests Dan Aykroyd. Do you know what this is? This is PCP. This is angel dust. That man affected me.
My kids know about drugs, but it's
yeah, but they're 10. I'm worried now, Melissa.
Oh no, I send my kids out wizened. Like I actually taught this might upset a few people, but not if you've grown up Italian or Greek or in a culture where children are actually allow this. But I exposed, before it's a legal age in Australia, I expose my kids. I let them have a drink of alcohol. I let them understand what the drug does to them, how it affects them before they go out and actually with their friends start binge drinking and doing all that stuff. And I got absolutely ripped apart because my kids went to a private Christian school. And so when my daughters are saying to their friends, oh yeah, Mum, let's just drink at home so we can understand that alcohol is a depressant. We need to know how it affects us. We have to and I don't teach it like that. I'm just like, do you want half a glass of wine, while we're having dinner? And Italians have always done that. They've always given a bit of wine to the kids. It's that's what you do.
I would clarify. It's just little bits. Like my dad used to give me a
shot. No, I don't get them drunk.
Yeah, I know. It's like, you're on your 34th Jaeger bomb. Come on, let's go. Shut up.
One of my daughters turned 21 this year. And so all of her friends, of course, are turning 21 too. So she's got this year of 21st going to all these parties and stuff. And I don't know, several weeks ago, she bought a bottle of Cuervo tequila.
Oh, worst choice in her life.
And I said to her, yeah, that's right. And I said to her, I actually gave it to her. So, hey, take this, from my stores. I don't actually drink alcohol anymore, but I have a good bar for people that come to my house. And so I gave her a bottle and said, hey, why don't you give that to her for her birthday? And of course, they all drank it, did shots, all the rest. And the next 2 days, she had one of the worst tequila hangovers you've ever seen in your life. And it's up to you. Did I plan that or did I not?
It was accidentally on purpose.
But I sent her, and it's funny you mentioned Jägermeister, because she actually, she was going to another friend's
Jaeger's
21st.
even worse. Jaeger's even worse. You're giving some horrible advice.
Jägermeister, here in Australia, we have something called the after grog bog. And Jägermeister is an experience you need to at least have once. You wake up with a hangover and then your bell goes, yeah, I'm going to punish you now. And enjoy that first leavings. I'll just say it that way. You've all seen the photos of the bear that visited Andrew's front garden.
That's right.
It's like
we're
that.
All scarred with that imagery.
Yeah.
Well, with the girls, but the reason I did that with the kids too is when they went out and their friends were binge drinking and all the rest was going on. And these are kids that went to a Christian school, right? So these kids really binge drink and really go off the rails when they're away from parents and churches and everything. And so, it turned out, as much as I had parents saying to me, oh, you're evil, you're the devil's born, all of that sort of stuff. I was the parent that got called when kids had alcohol poisoning, and the kids said, hey, we're in trouble. And it was, they knew they could come to me. They knew that I just go, the kids do this crap, and so that was the different deal with it too. The fact that it's an open conversation. So in my house too, we have open conversation of what a drug does, how it does, what ice does, the permanent damage to the brain that even I, with quantum bioenergetic integration, can't actually shift the laminating scarring of the brain when someone does ice. Ice actually laminates, when it damages the brain, it laminates it where that neurological tissue cannot regenerate again.
Complete chemical change. I just want to add in, somebody talked about Irish car bombs. Well, I've had an experience with
I hope that's
Jameson inside
with a Jaeger bomb.
No, Jameson, like a shot of Jameson inside a dark beer, usually like any dark Guinness. Sometimes it depends what it is. Usually Guinness. So you drop it in and it makes this white foam and you take it down. But you chase it with Jaeger. Okay, weird set of drinks. Because was a limo driver, I saw every combination you'd ever think of. Now, when I was 21, we had this bar called Moose O'Malley's. It's long since out of business now, but they had a drink called the Pain in the Glass. It was 14 half shots of whatever was shelf at the time. 14 half with a spritz of lemonade and a spritz of Coca-Cola and a spritz of Sprite. And I mean just a spritz. So it was 14 half shots. So it's 7 shots in a big glass, 7 shots in a big ass glass that you sipped. And sometimes that bottle, that thing went down fast. Oh, a lot of people call it, the tray underneath or pour it. It's like whatever's in that. It's the same. It's just a weird flavor. And and whenever St. Patty's Day coming around, it would suddenly turn green. Winter, some Christmas, it would turn red. With the food coloring and your peas coming out green or red.
It's fun, like the flaming Lamborghini. I can't remember what's in that, but they light it on fire, and you have to drink it really quick before the straws start to melt.
Well, you do that. We do that with an Irish car bomb. You light it on fire and drop it in, and there's a whole bunch of other ones that you do too.
Yeah, because the Jaeger bomb, which is just a shot of Jaeger in Red Bull, and you slam that down fast. I don't know. Someone discovered it, but Melissa, remember a band from Melbourne called Pre-Shrunk? It was 2 bass players and a drummer. They were playing, I think, the first Offshore, and I knew their roadie. And they discovered the joy of mixing energy drinks with vodka. So you get shit-faced, but the electrolytes are all up, so there's hardly any. And also, vodka is a very clear spirit. It's one of
that's consistent now. Like pretty much every drink my daughters and their friends have when they're out is something with Red Bull, something with like that's been around for
I can't
ages
stand
now.
Red Bull drinks. Ugh,
Oh,
I
isn't
can't
it
stand Red
gross?
Bull.
Well, I would like to
I
point
get
out.
understand
the first
how it works, but
the first offshore was in 1998 from the 20th century.
oh
so
yeah,
it has,
yeah. No, that would have been start phase, yeah. But
Yeah.
it's like these days I'm still like, if something's like Colby's older, like Colby's the go-to now. If someone's really sick or something, someone's done the wrong drug or whatever they've done, Colby's, my oldest daughter, is sort of the one that goes, all right, this is what we do, this is what we have to do, because she's just been around me long enough to know what to happen. I don't get the calls from her anymore. but the 19-year-old I still get the calls from. But it's but yeah, we had this fabulous moment where this really Christian family, like they were the ones that were most vocal, calling me out saying, how dare you teach your daughter that? What sort of mother are you? I'm going to report you to child protection, all this other stuff. My daughter was 18, for God's sake. Anyway, but and then I went to pick up my daughter from an 18th, and I was hanging, it was like, I don't know, 1 a.m, and I'm in the car at the front, and I saw this couple pull up behind me to pick up their son. And then I saw,
literally,
yeah, I saw him being pretty much dragged out between two of his mates, the feet dragging along behind him with the arms over both mates. And and me being me, because I can see through a human body, I just went, oh shit, the kid had really bad alcohol poisoning, dangerous stuff. And so I've got out of the car now. I have like little ready, those little vomit bags that you have with the ring. I have them in the car because we're a bit prone to car sick, and mum loves driving. And so sometimes we have them in the car anyway. And so I've got out with a vomit bag and just said, hey guys, I think you might need this in your car. And these were the couple that were really vocal and called me all sorts of bad names. And I said, listen, I reckon you should take him to the local hospital. You better take him to the local hospital. He's got alcohol poisoning. He said, no, he's fine. And I said, no, he's not. This isn't something you can go home and give him coffee for. You need to go and have his stomach pumped. And they said, I said, he's a big kid too. I don't know what the hell he drank. And I just said, no, seriously, you've got to do it. And they said, he's fine. And I said, well, look, at least take the vomit bag. You're going to need that. And I said, but someone's going to have to hold it for him. Obviously, he can't. And they said, no, we're fine. And just as his mates put him in the car, he just exploded in the car, just sprayed the entire interior of this car with vomit. And I said, I know you don't like me. Seriously, take him to the hospital. And apparently they didn't for about an hour, and then they put him back in the car and took him. And so, yeah, after that, they just avoided all eye contact with me.
Well, I got a little something to add. Explosive vomit as a limo driver, and you had to have a sixth sense about this stuff, because there's the $300 cleanup fee if you guys vomit in the limo. And I would make sure I would explain that to them every time. And like 6 and 7 times, I will let you do pretty much whatever you want without breaking the law, so on and so forth. But the second I smell or see anybody that looks green, I'm hauling ass, stopping what I'm doing and making sure they're vomiting outside, or it's $350, period. No matter what you think. I'm not.
And this is 20 years ago, wasn't it? So $350 is a small
2001, 2002. Yeah. This isn't that long ago. And I could like, oh no, this one's coming out funny. She's going to vomit. And I'd be in traffic. Get out, vomit outside.
Well, we all have that one drink.
Andrew, you have that sixth sense.
I know.
Well, I did want to point out. It's just not Andrew because he can, Galactic historian. Even you bouncers, just that they may not know how they've got that psychic ability, but they've just been trained where they can sense people, and they just know. Like, I've seen a bouncer just stand there and watch people come in. It's like, he's going to get drunk. He's going to be trouble. He's going to
same thing. I had the same sense. You're going to fight. And I'd see these people staring down at each other. And what I do is tap the brake, dog on the road, boom, they hit each other and then break it up. I cannot tell you how many times I stopped fights with a hard brake tap. I mean, a hard brake tap. Whoa.
I'm sorry to keep the vomit stories going. But
I'm from a public transport
my own
family.
21st, at my own 21st, my best friend, Brendan, my best mate, got me super drunk on Galliano. Now, have never had it since, right? Got me super drunk on Galliano. Brendan had also just started working in the mines, had a huge amount of money, and so just bought himself a brand new SUV. And so we're out. He's got me really drunk. He thought it was hysterical, right? We're driving back. I don't know what hour in the morning it was at this stage. And I was in the back of the car. I said, I'm going to be sick. He said, no, you're going to be fine. I said, no, you better stop the car. I'm going to be sick. This is his brand new car. And I'm in the middle of the back seat, right? So I'm pretty much in the center of the car. And he's going, no, you'll be fine. He wasn't driving. His older sister was. And they pulled, and I said, I'm going to be sick. And I said to her, you better pull over. And then I've gone, no. And I went to throw up. And foolishly, he tried to catch it. which of course created a wonderful sprinkler effect. Everything sprayed everywhere.
Welcome to Melissa Hocking Hughes and physics.
Welcome to karma is what I said to him. This is karma. And so when I'm out of the car vomiting on the grass and just away from me, I could see Brendan had his back to me and I could see his shoulders shaking. And I'm thinking, oh God, he's really angry at me. He's really angry because the car was just plastered. And he's really angry at me. And he turned around and he was laughing so hard. You know, when he's just laughing so hard, he's silent. Yeah, that was him. He was just doing the whole. Right. Mm-hmm.
I've done that.
Never had Galliano since.
Somebody in the chat room is like, what's going on? I'm remembering some stories that I don't know if I want to retell.
I've actually made.
I have some that I don't know if I want to retell them.
I've made someone laugh so much that they couldn't breathe. It was me and a friend, and we were making this girl laugh because there was a comedy trio from Canada. They're called the Canadians, which kind of works outside Canada. Like the three Canadians. Oh yeah, but I was like, what's all that about? But they would do. There was one. They did a show, and there was a postal worker, but he was a French Canadian, and it's like. So, would you like a drink? Yes, I would like a cock. Give me a large cock with some ass. Cock and ass. That's what I want, okay? Cock and ass for me. And we just said that for 5 minutes, and she was laughing so much because it sounds like cock and ass instead of coke and ice. And she was like, like we nearly killed her.
Yeah,
we stopped, but yeah, it's fun. So try that at home, everyone. So just speak in French accents. Hello, well, would you like a drink? Yes, I would like some cock and ass. I really love it when that cock gets right into the ass, eh?
All right, I will tell this one, maybe two. All right, so I had been limo driving for, 3 years. And so I had built up a clientele. I could book my limo 4, 5, even 6 months in advance. And this lady who I would regularly pick up and do all sorts of business work, driving her back and forth. She had a daughter who was graduating college. So she was, 22, 23. And they all wanted to go out and have like a college graduation party. And she tipped me even before the limo started $500 to make sure they had a good time. Didn't get in trouble. Great. They came dressed to the nines. I'm like, all these girls could be like level 10 models on anything. I mean, like, holy shit, amazing. And there's like 9 of them in the limo bus. Okay. And they're chitter chattering. We go from one club to the next. They're not that drunk. And then they go to the male strip club. And that's where it got bad. Now, part of being paid ahead time is make sure they don't do anything. So I would regularly go in and just help them out, get drinks for them. Everybody knew me as soon as I walked in with my tux or in my suit. They all knew who I was, what I was, because I was bringing them generally thousands of dollars in money. So I could get everyone in for free. And so this girl starts drinking. I'm like, oh shit, she's going to be sick. So I come over to her friend. I'm like, you got to stop her from drinking. She's like, I can drink and do whatever I want. And I just go like this, and it hits this other girl. And this was $1,000 dress at that point in time, which then triggered the next one to go right onto the strip club guy. And then 6 simultaneous right after another vomits. Yeah. And I dodged all 6.
This is why I have vomit bags in the car.
Anyone seen Goonies? The movie Goonies?
Andrew did the Neo bullet dodge. I like that.
The owner of the male strip club put a picture of me up on the wall going, dodge 6 vomits. And it's still up there today.
Yeah, in the
I was just
in the
whoa,
movie,
whoa.
in the movie Goonies, they're the bad guys are torturing one of the kids, and he finally breaks, and he just basically unloads on everything that he's kept secret, except for the information that the bad guys need. And there was one, it's just done so well. And then I started to vomit, then everyone else started to vomit, and blah blah. It's like a story going nowhere. But see, it is true. There's sympathy vomits.
Oh, there is.
So
That's
there's more
why
to
I have
this.
so many vomit bags in my
Yeah.
car. We actually, many years ago, when I only had 3 kids, right? Back in those days when I had it easy. Some of you know, some of you don't, that my eldest child, my son Jack, he falls under the banner of severely disabled. He's not. He's super, but he's quadriplegic with cerebral palsy, and he's also under the autism spectrum. And one of his triggers at the time, this is when he was about 8 years old, and he was going through some really new autistic triggers that would cause him to have that extreme reaction, right? This is a bad period in my life. And we went through a car wash, one of the automated car washes. And so we're in the van, because wheelchairs and stuff, we're in the van, got the 3 kids in the back there. We've gone into the car wash, which I love the robot car washes and stuff. They're so cool. And we're in the car wash starts, and Jack's lost it, and we can't leave the car wash, right? Jack's just completely hysterical. He's arching right out, screaming, like if you've got an autistic person in your life, you know what I'm talking about. Complete autistic trigger. Completely lost his stuff to the point that he was so hysterical. He vomits everywhere. So Colby and Tegan both vomit everywhere. I should have just opened the doors. We were in the car wash. I wish I'd just opened the doors on the van and everything. But like, we've gone into the car wash to clean the car, and oh my God, we came out and did the car need cleaning. It was a bad day.
So there's more to this. There's more to this story. So I had to get them all. They were all pretty damn drunk. I had to clean them all up. So I'm like, very extremely beautiful. I'm like, you gotta get this shit cleaned up fast, because they were drinking and towels, everything. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to need some help here. So the one girl who was the mother, she's like, all right, I got to call her. They need clothes. they need clothes. They're skimpy dressed as it is. So I call her up, and she goes, hey, how's it going? I'm like, things are a little challenged right now. I'm down on 4th Street, which is about 25 miles from where you're at right now. And I need you to bring a whole bunch of clothes. And she went, what? Let's just say there was some synchronized vomiting. And she went, ooh. And no clothes for me. I'm good. But they all need clothes, and they're all going to need to immediately go to dry clean this stuff, because they were super expensive dresses. Okay. So she arrives later, and they're at that point post-vomit. We're like, oh. And I had paper towels on them to cover them up, because I had to at least get some of the shit off of it to try to save it, and then the people at the strip club, they were helping me too. They put jackets over and stuff, but I'm like, she gets in there and she looks at them all, and she looks at me and go, well, you earned your tip, didn't you? I'm like, yes, I did.
Just a bit of soda. Just get some soda and dab it. It'll be all right.
I will share one more.
Take the stains out.
I will share one more. Now, this one is a little bit more challenging, because it was just a guy and a girl in the back of a limo that holds 30 people. You can figure out what's going to happen, right?
Right.
Okay. The window goes up. I knew that they were both pretty drunk, and I knew what was happening. She was going to go down. She was all over him the entire time. She went down on him and vomited while she was giving him a blowjob.
Oh.
What's the
Well, if you know
taste of that?
anything about vomit and the acid level that hits your crotch, it burns like a motherfucker. Okay.
That was my first thought, chemistry.
I had to like pull open his legs and throw water on it before I had to take him to the hospital, because this has happened before in the limo. Not the first time. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, if you don't get it off, you're going to end up in the hospital with a burnt crotch and a scrotum, and all your hair is going to fall off. And she went like, whoa. So I got him spread eagle pouring water on him, and the girls go, that is
how was your date last night?
Happens in a limo.
Well,
yeah. How was the date last night?
And then they got charged the $350, and I got a $400 tip for helping them out. So just to shut up. But
well
20 years later, I'm talking about it.
To a public
and
audience.
here is that couple now, ladies and gentlemen. No.
I've got a bit of a cleaner one, back with my sympathetic vomiting children. My mother-in-law died. Whole story in itself. This is years ago. Again, the kids were little. we've gone to the funeral, and as we've pulled into the church, now bear in mind, we're the bereaved family, right? And so, like, it's a good one, Robert. And, we're the bereaved family. So we've gone to this funeral of my mother-in-law. And as we're pulling into the church, my son vomits everywhere. And so both the girls go as well. And they're in their funeral outfits. Now, I'm a pretty organized mum, but who thinks to take a spare funeral outfit? And so, like, the kids are covered in vomit, and we're the bereaved family. There's nothing I could do. We had to go into the service. So I've, like, cleaned them up as much as I can, but they all still reek of vomit, right? And of course, because we're the bereaved family, everyone's hugging us. And because we're all in the car, we all reek of vomit, including me. And so people are hugging us and they're like, oh my God. And we've gone through the funeral. That in itself was an experience. But yeah, there was no spare funeral outfit. We reeked, and no one could say anything because we're there in the front row at the funeral. So, who takes a spare funeral outfit for your kid? I didn't even have a backup in the car. And then later on at the burial, Jack decided he was going to see if he could jump his wheelchair over the grave. This is for grandma. So if anyone was taking photos, they would have had a great image of his wheelchair teetering and all the dirt going from the edge onto the coffin while his mother's holding the handles going, no, mate, stop it. Like, go with the wheels. You're not going with her.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it just
so good. Like a good job.
Did he recently see E.T. or something? Is that why? Like,
no, he has for a kid that's quadriplegic that has no hope of saving himself, the kid loves a wild ride. Everything, rally cars, everything. And because he's a lovely person, every rally driver, everyone puts him in the car. So he gets to do all the great things. And that's what he was doing. It was a rally thing. He wanted to like, I reckon I could jump it like the rally cars. No, you can't. What are you doing? This little fluorescent yellow wheelchairs to get over there.
Melissa, have you seen I think it's just a local ad here because we are global. I can say Australia is local. It's basically a toddler sitting in like a push buggy, a pram type thing, but a modern one. And you've got the camera view from their perspective, and it's like an F1, watching an F1 car drive. And you figure out, like, what's going on here? And it's just the mum going for a run with the pram. But from the toddler's experience, it's like you're on a speeder bike in Return of the Jedi. And the kids enjoying it to the hills, like, yeah.
Oh, the stuff that, there's a legend story of how we entered a billy cart derby when Jack was about, I don't know, 9 or 10, I think he was. And so we got one of his old wheelchairs and we dressed it up like a billy cart because he wanted to go in it. And then Colby and Tegan were on either side and I was on the back of it, and we used it and we crashed spectacularly. It was great. And everyone was silenced it was at our school, and the entire school community, when we crashed and went into the hay bales and stuff, everyone was horrified. Like, how could I do that with this poor kid? Blah, blah, blah. And it was, and all you could hear, like, because somehow in this amazing, spectacular stack that we had when we came off the old wheelchair, which was our billy cart, because Mum was driving, so you can imagine we went fast. And somewhere in amongst it, I managed to actually, as we went down, I grabbed him, and he had a helmet on. I grabbed him, and he managed to land on me as we went into I actually had him on my chest as we went into the hay bales. And down the bottom of this, the police were down there with their speed gun, clocking everyone's speed on the billy carts. Like, everyone was completely on board with this. But there was dead silence in the entire crowd that this quadriplegic kid's been thrown out of his own wheelchair and blah, blah, blah. The girls, forget the girls who had spun off somewhere in the distance, but all you could hear in the silence was Jack's hysterics. That was great, Mom. Let's do it again.
Again.
Yeah, loved it. Loves a stack. But it's and so lucky for him, I do too. So
I like that Australian term. Like, remember, I think they're still being sold, but late 80s they came out. There was headwear, a helmet for kids, and it was called a stack hat.
Oh, that's right. That was too. The first bike helmets when they were forced to be legal were stack hats.
Yeah, and
yeah.
that makes sense. And believe me, I've done it. I've fallen off, and my head's gone boing. But the stack hat. So, mind you, that's kind of what type of level of karma you're going to do if you get in a car accident. It's like being on a. They're pushing this whole safety of motorcycles here in Melbourne, or at least at the moment. And
they should be doing it for electric scooters. They're really dangerous.
Yeah. Well, yeah, wear a helmet. It's like, yeah, so your body could be crushed and you can spend the rest of your life in a bed going, I shouldn't have done that. Because your head's fine, but the rest of you isn't.
I've got to show you, hopefully you'll be able to see this video. When Jack moved into a power chair, his own power chair that he could drive, bear in mind how much the kid loves a ride, a car, a drive, and suddenly he can drive his own power chair. He'd had the chair for one day, and this video still cracks me up, and you can hear us all laughing. Jack found Top Gear. So he's like, I'll see if I can turn it up so you can hear him. Hopefully you can see it. Can you see it?
No.
Let me see. No, it's not. It's going to do there.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
All right. It's not a really good image. I'm going to hit play. And where is it? Oh, you can't see. The sound's off, damn it. But
that's
there's my van, right? He found Top Gear. You can't hear it, but you hear him going, as he goes past, and he actually drove up the ramp and stacked inside the van, and that was his first day in the power chair. So what I did, because I couldn't get him to slow down, is I put a GoPro on his power chair, and so when he was going out to drive on his own, like if we're at a friend's house or something, mate, you're not allowed to go on the road. These are the rules, right? You're not allowed to drive on the road amongst the cars. You're not allowed to, okay, mum, no, going to do it, no problem. Unfortunately for him, I had a GoPro. So
I know where it's at.
Yeah, I'm looking at the GoPro and I've looked out, and here he is in the middle of a road, and traffic is stopped on all sides of him. and you can hear him saying, just watch this, everyone. And he's cutting donuts in his power chair to impress all. I had to run out on the road and get him. But he's like, mate, you've got a camera on. I can see where you are now. Damn it. So, yeah, he was good value, my boy. He was.
Modern technology at its best.
The power chair was a godsend. It was great fun.
I gotta have one final limo story. Everyone's seen a limo where you got the man window that goes up and down. So yes,
divider?
I was vomited on through the window
there's
a
the
few
stack
different
hat.
times. Yeah, that's stack. The one that I'm going to reiterate is, so it was a 21st birthday party and they're partying hard. I'm like, this is not going to end well. And so the window's going up and down all the time. Mm-hmm. And it was a bunch of guys and girls that were like 18 people, and they wanted to go to this strip club. And I knew that the strip club was only going to let them in for a little while. They were going to be too rowdy. They weren't going to spend enough money. So I'm like, so I took them there anyways, got them in for free. And within an hour, they were all kicked out. The girls couldn't handle the strippers. The guys, it was just a disaster waiting to happen. And I gave them plenty of warning. But they all had like double and triple shots. And then like a normal strip club, they started overcharging them for everything because they were being royal assholes. So they got like a $4,000 bill and they're screaming and yelling about it. The strip club's not going to change it. And so they had spiked their drinks with triples and they didn't realize how drunk they were. And I'm like, motherfuckers. I never went back to that club afterwards because I knew what they were doing and I couldn't get them out fast enough. So the window rolls down and two like screaming at me, rah, rah, two simultaneous vomits through the man window into the windshield as I'm driving.
No.
It sprays back on me. And I'm like, and half my face is covered with it. And the only thing I could do was put my fist up and go poof and punch both of them unintentionally right in the face. And as I turned, a third person vomited through the window.
Oh, yuck. What are they all doing up there?
Oh, they were so drunk. I mean, so once again, if you can't handle vomit, don't limo drive.
No.
Yeah.
Don't limo drive.
It goes hand in hand, limo and vomit.
I'm feeling
then
sick
when you get
of the vomit.
When you get the weird simultaneous drunk farts that happen back there and the giggles that won't stop, that's another really common story.
Yeah, can we talk about World War III now? I'm feeling woozy. Can we get to something lighthearted?
How about we open it up?
We could talk about World War III. I believe it happened at your house recently, Mont.
No, that was just a Jane Austen book compacted into a week.
How about we open it up to callers?
All right, I'm going to go
already?
to the
Cool.
toilet.
Okay.
All right. I'm going
So
to go
callers,
quick.
we're going to ask you to go ahead and raise your hand, and we are going to ask you to turn on video. It's a new thing we are doing now on our Friday comedy shows, and we're going to ask you to be funny. You don't have to be terribly funny, and I'm not insulting you. I will leave it to Melissa, as Monty is peeing, to invite people to raise their hands.
Oh no, see, I'm not going to call you things like chicken shit and stuff. No, you're right. No, raise your hands. I was actually speaking to another group prior to this show and said to them, hopefully we're going to do this again. I'm going to leave it to Andrew, but we did it last time and it was so much fun. And it's so awesome to see the awesome faces of everyone too, which is always good fun. But the stuff that comes out is great. You just never know what direction we're going to go in. So
All right.
What's the question? I know you love talking about the toe stub thing.
Well, that's just something that everyone can relate to. Okay. Head banging your head on, like, whoever has a hatchback. How many times have you hit your head on the trunk of your hatchback?
I'm thinking about, let me see now. What was a good question? I mean, we've talked
door?
about vomit
Yes.
so much. There's so much vomit stories. Surely people have their own legend vomit story. No, I tell you what, share with us the alcoholic beverage you will never touch again because of your vomit story.
Yeah,
Aztec
I know people.
Gold, Cuervo Aztec Gold.
I know people that won't touch Southern Comfort ever
Southern
again.
Comfort, right?
Yes.
Close number
Yeah,
two.
it's for me, it is Galliano, as you've heard, and also from when I was 16, Ouzo.
I can
back in the
handle
day.
Ouzo. That's a big deal.
Oh,
yes.
when I was 16, I
I made
couldn't.
the dumb mistake of getting drunk on vermouth. Oh, that was awful.
Oh my God. Oh,
Oh, that
vermouth.
was awful. That was the only
wasn't
thing to
worth it.
drink. That was the only thing to drink. It was awful. It came up awful. I could never have vermouth again. Grand Marnier, I can't do that again either.
What about embarrassing
I-
drinks like shandies and
Nothing wrong with a good shandy. How dare you? I do have a vomit. I have one vomit story I just remembered. I got really stoned and got the munchies. So I went to 7-Eleven and bought too much sugar, basically just donuts and everything else like that. And I threw up through my left nostril.
Oh, burn! Oh, the burn!
Spaghetti chunks,
Yeah.
and actually pull a strand of spaghetti out of your nose.
No, it was because it was like donuts and all pastries and stuff. It woke me up.
Oh, the burn! That'd be worse than like getting water up your nose. That'd just be.
So, but that was in the
Ooh,
90s in
acid.
Richmond. So yeah.
No, we've
so,
only got 6 hands up. Come on, guys, put your hands up. We want you to
That's
join
enough. That's enough. Let's see. Who do we got to pick?
in. I did
pick on
promise
first?
Mitts. We're going to let Mitts in. So.
Okay, well, let's bring Mitts on first.
Before we do that, can she check her background? I'm just letting her know, just to make sure.
It was a water bottle. It was a water bottle.
No, she sent me a photo later on, and that wasn't a water bottle.
It was a different kind of watering device.
Oh no, Mitts. Oh, all right. Now they're
Let's
going
bring on
to
Mitts.
defend yourself.
Robert, let's bring on Mitts.
Mitts,
scrambling
you
right
are
now.
on. Let's get your video going.
Hello.
Hello, do you want to turn on your video?
Yes.
There we are. We can see
Hello.
just here from your. There we go. How you doing
It's angled
today?
up now.
I'm good. How are you? Happy Friday.
Yes. Do you have any good vomit stories to share with us?
Of course I do.
Of course he does.
For whatever reason.
Which one?
Which one?
Mm.
So I used to vomit all the time. My sister was 9 years older, so I always wanted to, looked up to her. I want to eat as much as she did, and that would just make me vomit. And then I would have to eat all over again. Or
Have you ever go to vomit on the toilet, lift up the toilet seat, and have it hit you right in the eye?
the vomit?
No,
Or the
no,
toilet seat?
both. Well, when you lift the toilet seat up and you go on, there are many people that the toilet seat hits right there, and they get a big ass black eye from hitting the toilet seat, or they're going down so fast they hit their head on the actual bowl, and every time it turns black and blue really, really fast.
No.
Robin Williams has
Listen,
got. Robin
If I
Williams
feel
is
like I'm
great.
going to vomit and I go to the toilet to vomit, the fact that I'm hovering that close to a toilet will make me vomit. It's like-
Robin Williams has a great routine about that, where the toilet turns into a phone to God because you're
Yes.
oh God, please help me. Oh God, please help me. And then to top it off, Robin goes, oh, I forgot to put the seat up again.
I was a very sick child, so I would always get like medicine. I would get Chinese medicine, or I would go get like Western medicine. But the first dosage of my medicine, I would always vomit because you have to eat it after. You have to take it after you have a meal. Yeah, so I would just puke it out. So I would have dinner all over again and then take my medicine. It would just happen all the time until I was a little bit bigger.
My Chinese doctor still does a thing with me where I actually have to boil up the herbs on the stove in the terracotta pot and drain them off and everything, which makes them all the more potent and all the more effective. Over the years, I've developed the taste for them, but wow, they can be brutal. Because particularly because I've had cancer a few times, she's always trying to help the liver and the kidneys and everything. So trying to imagine the bitterness and then just trying to use herbs. And so she's awesome though. She's wonderfully, she's old school, trained in China. She's just absolutely no crap. And the woman's kept me alive. She's awesome.
It's amazing how someone can give you a bunch of bugs and sticks and and keep you alive.
That's what it looks like. It's the old school boil it all up thing. It's actually really cool. Now I really appreciate it.
I'm not saying like the Western medicine was like, oh well, I'm
none of these prepared tablets and crap. No,
not this for-profit organizations. I'm going through my own health issue at the moment, and it's like, thanks for that. What did I agree to? And I mentioned coconut oil, and it's just so interesting when you mention apple cider vinegar, coconut oil, all that wacky stuff. The doctor's like,
you mentioned me.
The doctor's like,
Have you guys pooped like diarrhea and puking at the same time?
Oh yeah. Ayahuasca. Ayahuasca.
Oh, I see. But without ayahuasca?
Yes, it's called the tourist trots. When you go somewhere where you shouldn't be drinking the water, and somehow it ends up in whatever you're doing. And
in terms of tourists, it just means when tourists, it means you're visiting the wrong planet, not just it's not just the tourist trots.
Robin Williams once again. Robin Williams did it well, where it's like and then you do all this stuff, and then your body goes, right, everyone out, 2 exits, no waiting.
Ayahuasca, it's still weirdly, it's still one of my most profound memories of it. As cool as it all was and everything, it was the actual discomfort, the physical discomfort of seriously, I've got to do this as well. When
it comes on, I enjoy it.
We know how much you love your colonics.
No. I've learned to flip the frequency on it. I give into it. I realize that it's a purge. I can feel the experience and whatever it is that I'm purging out, and I can identify what it is.
Yeah, so everyone try that when you go for a poo next. Just visualize like I'm removing waste energetically as well as physically.
Yeah.
People
and just shit away the pain.
The people.
It's that whole. The bottom line is like you've got to get that stuff out because your vibration's going so high so fast. And it's that blatant toxicity of the human existence just has to be cleansed immediately. You're just not going to cope if that shit's in your system. Literally, that stuff's in your system. But it's just, the discomfort of it. But there's a story a while ago. You can imagine the places I get taken with various shamans and everything. But I actually went and worked over in Ecuador with a tribe because the children were going blind. Long story, toxic crap in the river because of toxic crap, Ecuador, trying to imagine, right? And I started working on the kids, but before I started, I sort of took one look at them, saw the toxicity in all the tribe systems from the water, and I said, all right, we're going to need a latrine. I need the men of the tribe dig in a big hole. That's one of the first things we're going to need, and then we're going to need some planks across it for every kid to balance on, right? It was hideous. Like the first 12 hours, I had these kids purging from both ends because I had to get that. I had to get the poison out of their system. I was only there for 23 hours. And by the 22nd hour, most of the kids didn't have complete sight, but some of them just had fog coming back, but they actually started having their sight come back. And it was, there's a whole other, Monty loves this story because there was all sorts of dealings with the militia and, and somehow I managed to steal a gun. That was weird.
What I like
how
is
wasn't killed. I still don't know how I wasn't killed, but that's a whole other story.
yeah, and you said
Even
I
I
was
don't
there
know.
spiritually. I'm like, well, since I'm me, I don't remember that. Yeah, you were there. All right. That's my other self.
The fact that I can tell you how many years later, I'm not sure how long it was now, 7 or 8 years ago, but the fact, you know, I am with the timeline, everyone, but the fact that I can tell you that story and still say it was 23 hours that I was there gives you an idea of how traumatic those 23 hours are, that I still remember it was 23 hours before I had to get back on the truck and we had to go through the jungle.
It's a very big chapter in Melissa's Akashic record. Every second is documented. Oh, yeah.
That's why she's too fatigued to understand time in this life.
You know, gave birth, that's a paragraph. Was married to a husband, that's a sentence. Went to Ecuador, 23 hours logged every second.
All these beautiful kids, and it was hard. But the places I get to go. I mean, we're going to do Scotland. We're heading to Scotland on the bus, and I want you all to know how much I despise bus travel. Okay, but I'm not going to miss this trip. So I
like the point. If you need a translator, I can help out. I've been watching Outlander, and I know how to speak. All right, I'm feeling a wee bit hungry. I may need some food.
All right, so let's bring on Dave F. I believe that would be Mr. Dave Farrow.
Oh, yay!
Ooh.
Dave's not here, man.
Dave's not here.
Oh, isn't he? It's different.
Is the
Dave.
hurricane affecting you?
Just outer edges. The core went stayed east of us. We got 23 mile an hour winds and rain for, I don't know.
So in weather terms,
David, where are you?
You were glanced at. It glanced you.
I'm trying to remember where David is. South Carolina?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
North Carolina, okay. But
yeah.
Look, no, I wasn't with these people. It was sorry, I've been on lots of shows this morning. I was discussing earlier about, well, you guys will find this interesting or maybe not, but one of the first things we did, Katrina back in the day, there's David, hey. One of the first things a group of us all looked at was the fact that Katrina was frighteningly mathematically precise. There was no way it was naturally occurring. And all of us like, what the? But Ian has come on with, it's come about, as have all the other hurricanes. There's a lot going on around the planet right now, and flooding and everything else that's going on. But that's from that enormous, thanks, Sean. Make sure you get your shows right. With all of it going on, that's because of the rip in the, which was about 8 days ago. Their massive blast from the sun, huge rip in the electromagnetic field around the planet, that there's a massive crack in the field. How, basic science as we understand it and the fathomable physics of the world doesn't make sense, right? How does the electromagnetic field get a crack in it? The crack was open and irreparable by itself, couldn't rebalance itself for over 14 hours. And that has thrown turmoil across the planet. That's where Ian's come from. Because Ian's doing weird stuff too, keeps repowering itself, keeps sort of catching up and giving itself boosters. And it's clever little thing going back over the water and actually doing it. But geez, it's enormous.
I have a cousin called Ian, so I'm just visualizing him flying over Florida going, hey.
But one of the
I like how they give them personalized names like, Typhoon, Destructor. Like, here's Graham.
That's right. Hurricane Kim. Like, it's just, no, at least give it Medusa or, give it something mythical with power. But I'm not going to joke about too many hurricanes, because I actually have a lot of friends in Puerto Rico. I've got friends in Cuba. I've got friends, that have somehow managed to get a message out saying we're still alive. But I mean, Puerto Rico is still in a huge mess. What's that, 10 days later? There's just so much going on.
Yeah, the news said, hurricane. It's a hurricane because hurricane, typhoon, and cyclone. They're all the same things. Just
I don't think we call them cyclones.
Well, we call them like Cyclone Tracy.
Yeah.
In Asia, they're hurricanes, and I've forgotten the other one now. Anyway, it was the storm that hit Puerto Rico has made landfall in Canada. It was like, what the fuck did it catch?
Got back out over the water, powered up again. Must have gone over the gas thing. got itself gassed up on its way and then hit Canada.
Yeah, it's just like
it caught the Gulf Stream and just headed north on the current.
Yeah, went for the fast track.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the Carolinas and Jordan, like what? Wow. I hate to be out there.
I actually did because a few days ago myself, I felt like crap, and I'm thinking this isn't did the woman thing. Oh, look at that! Is that a Dalek mug?
That's a Dalek mug, yes.
Yeah.
Good on you nerding up, Mids. But
that's from her work. I found out
that. Let's balance the under. Let's bring in Nicole.
Wait, there was someone else here. What happened to Fred?
Nicole, you.
I'm sorry, Fred. Did I bore you? Fred's left.
Hello?
Hello, Nicole. Do you want to turn on your video?
Let's see
talk sweetly to it by flowers.
There we are.
Nicole, long time. So how are you
doing
today?
Oh.
I'm good. How are you guys? I'm
good. We're
loving all the
comedy
party
show
stories.
So you haven't been on a comedy show before. You must tell us a toe stubbing story. So when you stub your toe, are you a screamer, swearer, a silent pain? What are you like when you stub your toe?
I'm silent and then I swear.
Silent, then swear.
Yes. And it's one of those drawn out swears, like, oh, yeah, that one.
Yeah, work the vowel. That's right. You got to work the vowel in the swear word. Yeah. If you say shit, you go shit. You got to work the vowel in the middle there.
It's always the F one. It's always the F one.
You're the first person who extends the word. I will say that. We've had many people give testimony on their toe stubbing style.
Yeah.
Mine's compressed swearing. See how many I can get in so quickly.
Yeah, but now if I stub my toe, it's like, no, I'm just going to let it go because I don't want to give Andrew another fucking story. Stub my toe.
No, right. I had the old, when the kids gang up on you, or your kids gang up on you. Last night, all of my daughters decided to mimic what I do when I hit my head on the range hood. And it's when I hit my head that every expletive exits me. It's just I don't know why it triggers so much, but it does. You should have heard my kids last night, and I couldn't correct their language. I couldn't say, hey, because they were mimicking me. They really had me in a corner.
Did you say something like, damn you fornicating vagina?
And apparently they were saying it's funny if I hit me on the range hood, I always hit the range hood. Apparently I did it last week, which I did hit my head. I don't remember punching the rain hood, but they said you always hit it physically. If I hit my head on the range hood while I'm cooking, you go smack it.
Yeah, and it hasn't moved since you've moved in. It's always there. I think you're the problem, not the range hood. I'm just putting it out there. If an inanimate object that doesn't move and you keep hitting it,
it's just fantastic. Like, one of the reasons I'm in this house is that the lady that owned it was a cook, and the kitchen is awesome. And the range hood is like a commercial grade range hood, but she was also this tiny lovely little lady from the Philippines, and she's fabulous. I talk to her all the time, and it's a little bit lower than it's just that little bit lower than your standard range hood. I don't know what standardized range hood heights are, but for a tall blonde, it's in the wrong spot. And I'll be happily dicing something right beside, watching what's going on, and go crack right there. It's just.
I know why you do that.
This has been, I've got punched by a man many, many years ago, and I've got a fracture in the eye socket, and that's where it hits. So it's on that fracture in my eye socket.
I know why you do it. High heels one day, flat shoes the next day, barefoot the next day. And that's why you keep hitting your head on the range hood.
Elevation changes.
Perception.
I love wearing heels. I don't give a damn how tall I am. I wear heels, and now that I've recovered out of the lockdowns of no heels, I'm back. I'm heel fit again. I'm always in heels.
See, what I think it is. I've got a theory. Let me put it out there. You're working through some domestic violence karma from about 300 lifetimes ago, but you're single, and so you're using kitchenware.
Inflict the abuse on myself. I think I've had enough of that in this lifetime.
Yeah, well, exactly. That's what I mean. You don't let someone else do it. You do it. I'll do it. If I need to do this, I'll do it myself. Thank you very much. I have a range wood. Fuck off.
Maybe it's the universe saying, damn, she's trained herself. She's too good at fighting back now. We have to make it inanimate.
My
Yeah,
brain
there's
is
less
like
legal
that.
problems.
Real quick, so Nicole, do you have any stories or anything you'd like to share with us?
Vomit or otherwise.
Yeah, we're I have stories. Where do you want me to start?
Anywhere
At
you
the
want.
beginning.
I mean, I definitely have a couple vomit stories. My 24th birthday was probably the most violent one. I remember I got kicked out of the club because I could barely stand against the wall, and it was just one of those ones where it's just coming out of my mouth. Like there's no even heaving.
Yeah.
It's just coming out of my mouth.
just a
Like a
drink.
And
fountain.
so my boyfriend at the time had to get me out. The bouncers kicked us out, and this was like back in the day when I was bartending at one of the top nightclubs in the city, and so I thought, oh, it's not going to be a problem. But of course, vomiting is not ever cool. And so we got kicked out, and he had just got his car detailed, and he had to drive us home. And I guess I tried to vomit outside the window, but it all went down the inside into like
no.
the side
Into the pocket in the bottom of the door, like a bucket.
Yeah, it went into the hardest parts to clean in the car. And then I found out my younger sister, who was 21 at the time, had also come out that night, and she got super drunk with my best friend, and they had to get a cab home. And because I think my sister was really drunk, and so my best friend got a box because the cab driver wasn't going to let them in the cab. And she's like, no, don't worry, we're going to give her a box just in case she throws up. And so I gave her a box. And so she starts vomiting into the box. But then she's like, why is my lap warm? And apparently there's a big hole in the box. And so the box did nothing. And so there was a lot there. But I have to say, I just did ayahuasca in June for the very first time. And I've never knew what vomiting was until I did
The
ayahuasca.
purge is real.
Oh, share with us. Please do.
The
Because
purge
it's a
is
spiritual
real, isn't it?
experience. It truly was a spiritual experience, wasn't it?
Suddenly a sweat lodge is easy after you've done that.
I've done many detoxes in my life. I've been on this spiritual journey for decades, and I thought for sure after abiding by the diet and all that kind of stuff and cutting out all the things I was supposed to cut out, that I was going to be totally fine. I was going to be able to bypass the vomiting. And the particular ayahuasca ceremony that I did was Colombian. And they used this brew that they said every hour and a half, you're going to take another cup. So there were 3 cups that we took over the course of 3.5 hours. So
that's
it was
not that bad. That's not that bad.
It was mainly like a detox ayahuasca, from what I understand. So
all that means is there's less trachuna, meaning there's less visuals.
yes, because I didn't have many visuals at all, if any.
It was introspective.
Okay.
It was just introspective. Yeah.
We'll have to take it. We'll have to do a tour down there too, Andrew.
So Robert has it all lined up. He has a group that we can go and do ayahuasca tours with.
Let's do that.
Ooh, I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah.
Robert's living.
I'll happily
Robert lives
take you
in
down there.
Colombia.
I've got all sorts of fabulous contacts down there.
Yeah. Anyways,
I can
finish
do the jungle.
your ayahuasca story. Sorry.
Yeah. So
We'll have
my
my
intention.
intention.
My intention going into the ceremony, which was 2 months ahead of time, and I was communicating with the consciousness of the ayahuasca 2 months ahead of time, was I just wanted a really nice heart opener. I was like, whatever needs to be cleared from my heart, I just want to be able to love deeper and clear whatever's holding me back, whatever is there. That's what I wanted to do. So that was my intention. And I made it through the first cup with a little bit of nausea, but nothing major. And I remember thinking, wow, I'm a rock star. Like I made it through. Like there are people who had been doing it, like they do ayahuasca all the time, and they were just literally vomiting within the first 5 minutes. And so then the second cup came around, and it was just the nastiest thing I've ever, like the first time going down wasn't so bad, but the second time was horrible. And within about 15 minutes of consuming it, I knew I wasn't going to survive that round. And I was pacing. And then finally, like I took my bucket and I went into the jungle, and I was like, I thought it was going to come out, but it wasn't. And then finally, like I just kind of forced the gag, and then all of a sudden, like it came out, and then it was just like, if it could have been projectile and not in a bucket, it would have been the most projectile vomit I've ever experienced. It came out of places I didn't even know it could come out of. And the craziest thing about it for me, though, was as violent as this was, the one thing that was so apparent to me was that it didn't feel like it was coming out of my stomach or my gut. It felt like it was coming out of my heart.
Yeah.
And I literally saw like black clouds. That was probably the only vision I actually had, was I saw like these black clouds kind of coming out. And it was wild. It was wild.
Because that's exactly what you asked for ahead of time. And you opened the door to ayahuasca going, great, we're going to purge the heart. Because heart purging is a very unique thing in ayahuasca. That's why, like, when the first time that I did it, because everyone gave me the warning ahead of time, just surrender to the vomit, surrender to the to the bottom purge, just surrender. And in the beginning, I'm like, fuck it, just surrender. And I heart purged, and I swear to God, I purged an extra heart.
Oh, yeah.
An extra heart that was I was giving away to others. And what ayahuasca wanted to show me is I could not give away myself to others anymore.
Wow. That's a big one, especially for anyone who's in the healing industry.
Yeah.
Well, I
had to hold my heart for myself.
Yeah.
And the bigger teaching, once I finished purging the heart, then the bottom purging came, because your heart and your cerebral heart space awareness, and when you're asleep, your cerebral heart space awareness is in your gut. That's that gut brain. There's also a gut heart.
I believe that. And it's interesting because when, it all happened, I took the third cup and of course more vomiting, and then I was just exhausted. And so by the time the closing ceremony came at 6 a.m, I was so exhausted and out of it. And, one guy picked up a guitar who had done the ayahuasca, and he started singing, and it was Spanish. And I didn't really understand what he was singing, but I remember like when he started playing, it sounded really nice. And then he started singing. And as soon as I heard the word amor, out of nowhere, just tears started falling. Like I burst into tears. I couldn't hold them back. And it was all this emotion purged. So I knew something cleansed from my heart and cleared in that moment, even though I had no conscious understanding of exactly what it was.
Yeah. And in my situation, so after I part purged, instinctively, I knew a bottom purge was going to come. And I'm like, all right, so I got to make it to where I'm going to go and do it. And I would not bottom purge. It felt like it was going to come and just gas and gas and gas. And even the shaman's like, what the fuck? It's like, I haven't heard that much gas come out of anyone. And then I'm just like, just put my hands in my head like this, and it just kept going, and like it filled up the bowl to the point I had to stand up. I was still going to flush because that's how much came out. Right? Because it felt like, regular toilet, it's filled it up, and I'm like, oh my God, it's going to overflow. And if I don't stand up and hit the flush, and it was still coming out and still coming out. And then I cleaned myself up, and I'm like, I think I just shit out another heart. And what that was, because it went straight into introspection, because it wasn't a visual. It was the same thing like you had from my first one. It was my instinct to take care of human beings at the DNA level. Yeah. And that I had to take command of that instinct. And if I didn't, it would put me right back in a situation where the heart would be given away at instinctual level.
Yeah, the karmic slap, it's brutal if you don't own your purpose.
Yep. Yeah.
Can I just point out,
like the likes of us?
Yeah, well, I think Melissa and Andrew are plotting to get me over to do ayahuasca. I'm not sure at the moment. I'm just saying.
You're not convinced yet, Monty?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I could just drink really cheap wine. I can just drink really cheap vodka and have the same experience of shitting and vomiting.
No. That you trust me. Yeah. Because I had the same thing. Like first it was the vomit, and then it was the other end, and it continued throughout the day. And I'm like, how much is inside me that shouldn't be there right now, and you don't even realize it was great for weight loss. I will say that.
The ayahuasca diet.
Yeah.
Hey, now here's a question.
And there was carrots. Carrots.
Are you shitting out your multiple timelines? It's like, one of us is doing ayahuasca. Quick, push it over there.
Well, that's probably your journey, Mont. Actually.
Well, you want to know what the worst part is the taste of ayahuasca obviously is not pleasant at all. And after having to take 3 cups of it, and it was super thick, whatever I took was super, super thick. you know, the third one, I took the third cup just swallowing, it was like I wanted to gag just even having it in my mouth because the smell of it, the taste of it, everything. But when it's finally like you're done and now it's coming out the other end, you still smell it's all you smell is ayahuasca, and it's like you want to vomit at the same time. And it's just, it's the most unpleasant experience physically, but at the same time, I don't know how to say, it is very transformative. It's
right. The visceral nature of the experience solidifies the memory.
Yeah.
So the next day, so the first day we did the ayahuasca with auto trachuna. Then the second day we did ayahuasca with very little trachuna, but mushrooms in it. So when you mix ayahuasca with the trachuna and the mushrooms, it goes to these super levels of introspection with some color to it. And sometimes you'll purge, sometimes you won't, but there comes a moment where we call it the waiting room, where everything goes, wah, 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 the colors take over, but you're still here. Okay. And that's called the waiting room. And ayahuasca is just waiting for you to surrender. That's it. And if you don't surrender, you stay in that position until you vomit or shit.
Yeah.
And it just holding the space for you to surrender. And there's this inviting energy. And then you're in the space and you come out like 5 hours later. What just happened? You know? And I personally think that's what will happen to Monty. He'll have one experience where he'll vomit or poop, and then he'll go right into the space, and 5 hours later he'll come out, what the fuck? And then somebody giving him a second cup. Here you go.
It's been 45 minutes. What are you talking about? No, man, I was gone, bro.
Oh, I can smell it through the picture.
Oh my God.
I can smell it through the
picture. Speaking of mushrooms, Andrew, I wanted to ask you something. I did a mushroom journey a few weeks ago, and I was kind of shown the Egyptian pyramids, and I was shown like all this Kundalini energy, and kind of brought my awareness to the divine, specifically the divine feminine sexual energy, and how, like, I guess back in those times, more ancient times, that it was very well known how powerful sexual energy was through its sacred form. I was wondering if there's anything you could elaborate on that, because it was
okay. So what was happening is your previous life in the the group of Sekhmet, the Holy of Holies. I don't know if you're familiar with the Egyptian mythologies. That would also be the Hathors, et cetera, but the off-world Hathors are separate. So that would be the cult of Isis also, who practice sacred sexuality. Basically, Tantra is like nothing compared to what sacred sexuality through the cult of Isis was. It was how to give birth to a selective child, meaning oftentimes the priest or priestess, the priests were trained in sexuality, sacred sexuality, bonded with one or two partners, and then they go months with no sexuality to build up a frequency. And then particular rituals were done where several dozen couples were in a sacred facility doing fertility rites so that married couples could come and have the fertility energy. So it was a way of sharing the sacred sexual energies combined with other hallucinogens during the journey. So hallucinogens were a big part of the Egyptian society. You know, the alchemy streams that are coming out, that's their version of ayahuasca, or at that point would be what's the brain, I have a total brain fart, the one they do in South Africa, in Africa. Not a total brain fart.
East Africa.
No, I know I can't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about.
It makes ayahuasca shameful compared to what the type of experiences you're having with it. Anyways, I'm having a total brain fart. Anyway, so there's an acacia plant there that's the same damn thing.
That's iboga.
Iboga. Yes, iboga.
That's it.
Yeah. I've done iboga, and whoa, different experience. Completely different. Now, having a sexual experience with iboga, I can't imagine that. I just couldn't. I couldn't. I just couldn't imagine. It's totally off the scales for me, and trying to be able to function with that kind of medicine flowing through your veins. But they would be using that with decades of sexual experiences and knowing how to raise the partner to the highest bliss frequency without penetration.
This is all making sense to me, because one of the things I'm doing with my work right now is creating like an intimacy method. And I was told in my mushroom journey to start remembering that sacred sexual energy to channel into this method.
Do you have a partner
with
to
that,
practice on?
remember, this is a topic earlier today too, but you've got to remember the power of the chalice, or rebirth the power of the chalice, being the uterus, being the feminine, being the core of creation, and how much that's been shut down. Earlier today, here's a taboo topic that's going to horrify a lot of the men on the thing, but that's why it horrifies you, because you've been conditioned to believe this is taboo and dirty. But recent discoveries with friends that are in breakout scientists and all the rest around what they've discovered in the stem cell content of menstrual blood is absolutely mind-blowing. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely incredible. And if you go back through human experience, just this breed of human that's come out in this particular breed of us, the history of how desperately the wisdom of the chalice and of menstrual blood and all of that is, and the power of it and how it can be used through, as Anne was talking about, the sexual experience.
This is crazy. This is crazy because
this is stuff you're meant to use. You didn't come on here by accident.
No. Okay. So this is not a TMI show. So
let it rip.
Literally 36 hours after that mushroom journey, my menstruation started, and I was literally not even in the middle of my cycle yet. I was like on day 11, and I was like, oh, why is my period starting all of a sudden?
And I wasn't actually going to disclose that, but I did want you to remember that.
Yeah. And so it started
intact.
And I was like, okay, maybe this is just like a cleansing. It felt like a clearing. But I was like, oh, probably go on for another day or two. It went on for 16 days.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God. And so then finally it stopped after the 16th day, which was literally just a few days before my regular cycle was supposed to then start, which it never did. But then I went through 8 days of a high fertility portion of my cycle, which usually is like a 2 to 4 day thing. And it was like 3 times what I ever experienced in my 20s. And I'm like, what is happening right now?
You had a menstrual cycle reset.
Yeah,
that's actually talked about in the cult in the Sekhmet groups. When you have that, it's preparing you for a super powerful spiritual experience, because in another version of you were giving a super blissful birth and it completed a timeline, but this one weren't having a birth, the simultaneous birth. Thus, we're given the blissful energy and the reset of your cycle. But part of the cult of Sekhmet is to align yourself, your menstrual cycles, to other versions of yourself. And I talk about this in my book also. And by aligning your cycle with other versions of yourself, whether they're aware or unaware, it's a massive karmic rebalancing for yourself.
That's right, that one.
No one's colored it in. I remember I said color in the front cover. No one's done it. I'm disappointed in everyone.
I was about to say, I've got sticky notes in there marking that bit where he talks about that at the moment, because it's
I'm gonna read that part tonight, because I've only got about halfway through. That's wild. That's really what I did not. I mean, I knew something was clearing out.
Has always been the core of human creation. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and the chalice is everywhere. If you look at everything about the chalice, if you watch Da Vinci Code, you get back on there and look at that. Everything's about that chalice. Everything's about that bloodline. And then, but if you go deeper into it and look at every pyramid on the planet, the pyramid that we see above surface is equally balanced by the chalice beneath it. Even the Egyptian pyramids go down as deep as they go up. And so have a look at all of that stuff and you'll realize the power of the chalice and that it's always the core of creation. Actually, I was joking before, earlier in the week, I put a little thing on my Facebook, my Facebook page, my actual profile, that was a quote about the future has to be designed and created from the feminine. And some guy got on the thread and started ranting about bullshit feminist crap, blah, 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 and all the rest. And everyone just let the crickets, just let him go. He kept commenting on his own comment. It was hysterical to watch until I thought, I've got to put him out of his pain. And just after his first comment, I replied and said, this is not a feminist quote. Just the word feminine spiraled an incredibly fear-based man into this incredible fear-based rant about women.
I remember seeing that post and I basically sort of like, well, that's not equality, and moved on. But but to be fair, to have that equality, you need to bring, because the feminine has been suppressed for thousands of years. You got to bring it back up. But
we've hit that cycle. Within the cycle from 26,423 years, we're now in the new 26,423 cycle.
I don't want to replace the masculine. I've got this strange idea of having that equal and working together.
It's not actually about the masculine and the feminine. It's about the feminine core, the feminine intelligence. It's about where we source the information for the creation. And that's why the work that you're doing, Nicole, is super important. Right. And the intimacy that Andrew's talking about, the incredible sexual experience, even more so, it's all about creation. The chalice has always been that.
Well, I want to add something. Nicole, when did this experience end for you?
A few days ago.
All right. So if it ended a few days ago, what it means is you have still connected to the mother who's given birth in the other reality, which means you have access to a bliss mother energy. And if you have a partner to work with, intimacy training together, which is eye contact, tongue contact, nose contact, ear contact, activating the different parts of the pressure points. And it's really not about pressure penetration, though there can be rubbing, et cetera, et cetera. It's not about the actual phallus and the vagina connecting. It's about activating the different Kundalini points so that you can experience the motherly bliss.
Yeah. Well, here's the other funny thing that happened, because it doesn't end there. So during the high fertility week, I had a new carton of eggs that I had bought, and every day I would crack 3 eggs.
Doubles.
And I had doubles in 3 days in a row.
The universe is laughing at you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, wow. So it was crazy. I was like 3 double yolks, 6 double yolks all together out of 9 eggs. And I'm like, it was like, just like the 3, 6, 9, the double yolk thing, the fertility. I was like, I mean, you just literally can't even make it up.
Do you want to have children?
Just a bit of a warning.
I do.
Oh, you do. Just a bit of a warning when you're in that. I had every bloody contraception you can imagine in place, including an IUD, and I fell pregnant with triplets.
Oh, someone told me, they're like, at this point you would get pregnant kissing someone.
Yeah, look, this is another reason I stay single, man. I'm ridiculously fertile. And so that's like, not least, the way I found out it was triplets was because some weeks later it looked like I was miscarrying, which I did, and the identical girls kicked someone out, and that's how we found out I was having twins.
So Nicole, you roughly have 9 months to decide, but it doesn't mean you have to have it, because there's another benefit. If you choose not to, there's going to be a rapid spiritual expansion of the divine feminine intelligence. Instead of it being in your brain, it's going to come out the womb and up to the intestinal tract into the heart. And it's why you purged your heart. Okay. So it's a different connection where the womb will have its own brain, womb brain, we'll call it that, and heart that will go up. It will be like 2 crown chakras focusing to the heart, which will give a rapid expansion of your healing, your vision, the works that you do, because you're going to be giving birth to a legacy for yourself.
Wow.
So nothing major. Just
no. Just another Friday night.
Yep, just another Friday night.
So how was Friday? Well, I am the goddess. Yeah.
Wow. And to everyone on here that's cringing because we're talking about menstrual cycles and menstrual blood and things like that, because you've been taught that it's dirty and and all of that sort of rubbish. Let's just purge all that bullshit, religious structure, all the stuff that was based in fear, so the feminine could not rise, because way back in the day where they began that narrative, they understood how terrifyingly powerful the feminine in its creation is. Not just talking women here, so don't get defensive, gentlemen. I'm talking about the feminine. Whether you walk with genitals of penis or vagina is almost irrelevant. It's about, we're talking the feminine here. So it's a different deal. And so Mont carries a good level of feminine. And you wouldn't think so. He wouldn't tell you that.
I so do. Thank you very much. Thank you. I feel blessed that you just acknowledged that for me.
So for any of the women that are listening that want to have Nicole's experience, Starts with an ayahuasca journey, purging the heart, followed by a mushroom journey.
It was a pretty, I mean, I wouldn't do it again just because it was a lot, but I did a 5-gram dose when I did that.
Way too much. Way.
It was
heroic dose.
I was able to, it wasn't like too much in a sense of physically, but I couldn't process anything that was coming. It was way too much.
That's still too much.
Yeah.
Here's the rule. Here's my mushroom rule. You do a 0.5 gram. 90 minutes later, do another 0.5 gram. That 0.5 gram, no matter how potent the mushrooms are, you'll have a peak on it. And if you take a 0.5 gram 90 minutes later, it will just extend it and not make it worse. Taking 5 grams all at once is called the hero's dose. And I just am going to say that it is the dumbest thing in the world to be doing hero doses. You don't need to.
Someone did you wrong by giving you that.
Gets aggressive, and that's what happened. The medicine got aggressive.
Yeah, and I don't regret it. I now at least know that I think for me, I've done like 3 grams, and it seems to be like when I do it, I'm still able to process and be very present within it. But that was obviously a learning experience I needed to go through. But I agree with you. Have you ever teched your mushrooms?
What do you mean?
Soak them in lemon juice.
Oh yeah. Many times.
What does that do?
Oh, it changes the game.
It changes it because
okay.
you absorb it. Basically, the 90-minute rule is how long it takes for your stomach to digest it and your liver to process it in the very beginning of the experience. Okay. And that's what it takes your first peak. And sometimes, because if you don't put the lemon juice on, it could take like an extra hour for you to get in the peak. And when you put the lemon juice, it can cut the 90 minutes to 45 minutes.
It cut mine to 10 minutes.
Oh, you put a lot of lemon juice on it then.
Yeah, no, I put 3 lemons.
I usually
and then I drink the lemon juice.
Yeah, I usually use like a tablespoon of lemon juice on mine. Now, the most unique is if you can get it into the ground powder. When I was in Amsterdam, I was able to buy a significant quantity in the powdered, and measuring that stuff is a pain in the ass, let me tell you. And getting 0.5 gram and gram doses, and then you realize that this was the most potent mushrooms out there. Oh my God. And yes, we put lemon juice on the ground powder stuff, and it basically was like a paste in your mouth, and we were peaking in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And it got a little out of control, meaning everyone was giggly, laughy, tripping over stuff. We didn't have our tripper toys. We weren't on the couches right. And I just had to have one of those moments where we're all like, focus, organize, get yourself ready. You got your drink. And then I was like, oh. But at the end of it, it was like beautiful. And whatever control thing we had going on there, because we were actually ended up outside in hammocks at like 6 hours later. It was really cool, really a great experience. Anyways, but we followed it up the next day with peyote, which was
oh wow,
challenging. Yeah, but that was how do I put this? A vision quest that didn't intend to start as one, but it turned out that way. The hell is that? It turned out to be a vision quest, and my skill just turned on during it, and I'm watching everybody's visions and talking it out loud, going, what the fuck's going on? And it was one of those me experiencing 10 me's at once. You know, each person in the room had an individual me conversing with them, and they all were aware of it.
That's a lot.
It wasn't at that moment. For me, it wasn't. It was revealing of how good I was. And at the end, I had to pat myself on the back and, go into the deeper experience and the understanding, because during Reiki class, advanced Reiki therapy, which is surgeries, there's multiple versions of you already doing things. And, you're practicing sending treatments forward and backwards in time to yourself. So it was just me seeing a practice skill that I had done in a healing scenario, yet in a recreational spiritual experience that turned out to be super spiritual for everyone that was a part of it.
So there were multiple from multiple timelines here.
No,
they went multidimensional.
Imagine 9 people in the room.
Yeah,
there's an individual me talking to each person individually, and each person is individually talking out loud to me that was in front of them, even though I was sitting on by myself. talking to everyone simultaneously, and they're all having individual conversations with me, and they're all fully aware of it. There wasn't 9 me's in the room. There was just one me, but
no.
Yeah,
I'm just
9 radio stations all talking to the same person.
I'm liking this. I think I need that. So,
well, it was like
I'll write down the recipe.
like a super deep reading session for each one, and I didn't intend to start it that way, but that's what it turned out to be.
Those are the best.
Yeah, those are the best.
Yeah.
But the next day, I got a different gift, which was, how do I put it? The lightning spirits speaking to me, because it was a very thundery lightning experience out in the weather. Every time there was a crack of lightning, there was this voice in my head that was, use this for yourself, not for others. Use this for yourself. And I could see in my brain electrical firings going everywhere, activating, and it was, use the skill on yourself. So many people that practice the healing work can't use their skill on themselves. And that is the journey that I took to master using the skill on myself to the point I could teach it to others. Because everyone's a master at their own skill until they got to use it on themselves. I know, Melissa, you know that you and I have had some unique experiences, because it's like rally car driving. I'm on the map and she's driving, turn right now. Right. We have some very unique experiences when we go into that space.
And how many times have you, like even myself, where you're giving advice and it's like, I'm talking to myself right now, by the way, and it's just like the experience in that moment that's been set up to help somebody, but it's also to help yourself as well. Because for me, having just going through it, it's like, oh, you should try this, and the rest of me is like going, yes, we should, and I'm like, and so you're actually giving advice to yourself, and there happens to be someone who will benefit from it as well.
Yeah,
anyways, the medicine experiences, I will say that it isn't for everyone.
No,
there are a lot of people
meant to do it.
I would say don't do it. Why? If you haven't done any inner work, you're going to get beat up.
Yeah.
And if you end up running into a shaman who gets overwhelmed, which happens all the time, you have to fend for yourself. And that's when fear gets in. And if you're one of those people that can just let the tiniest bit of fear in, you're screwed. You're screwed for a good portion of time until you take control of yourself again.
That is
and understanding taking control of yourself means stopping the medicine's message to you when you should be surrendering to it. So it's like this oxymoron of an experience.
I will warn you, if you do come with us on this journey, speaking of shamans that get overwhelmed, you may experience, and I'm sure this is going to happen to Andrew too, but it's, there are a lot of shamans and priests and all sorts of people around the world. I'm not talking like Catholic ones, definitely, but I was thinking more like Hindu and stuff, but that become really overwhelmed and refuse to go anywhere near me. So like it's about 50-50, and you'll find that happens with Andrew too. The shamans that are truly connected will become overwhelmed because they're connected and see the information load, don't they?
And this is one of the reasons I stopped running ayahuasca journeys myself. Yeah. All too often they would focus on me too much.
Yep.
And I had to extricate myself from even offering those as experience with me in the same room. So, so if we're going to do it, I won't be having medicine with you. That's not my purpose. The medicine is your purpose, your experience. And unfortunately, too many people, they put you up on a pedestal or an icon, and they will never have their journey. No. So it's one of the reasons I've outsourced it, literally outsourced. Because you won't have your experience with me there.
And if I'm there, there'll be jokes. There'll be a lot of jokes because it's a defense mechanism, just me being me. Like, the whole waiting room thing Andrew explained. I'm sure one joke that will come out, like, because I thought about it earlier. Oh, I'm having all these colors, but I'm still here. It's like, oh, you're in a waiting room. Where are the magazines?
In your brain.
Yeah. Oh, they're from 1983. Anyway, so yeah, there'll be humor involved. So I've had people had moments of spiritual clarity, and then I say a joke and it breaks. It's like, well, that's your fault. I'm just trying to get a laugh here.
Yeah. So what Robert and I talked about was having everybody meet in Colombia and then do 2 days of training with them of how to prepare for your experience. And then, so before you would get there, we would have basically like classes that help prepare you, a couple weeks before. And the most important thing that I've learned with all of my ayahuasca journeys is the after experience, not a day, a month later, and 2 months later. So that the coaching sessions would be before the journey. While you're there, you'd go and have your journey, you'd fly home, and then there'd be after coaching group sessions so people could truly process what it is. Most people barely understand what's happened to them 5 hours after it or a day after it. It's not until 30, 60, 90, 6 months later do they truly understand the impact. And that's why, when I was talking to Robert, because we have Robert, you want to come on real quick? Some really potent experiences. There's 3 days and up to an 11-day experience. You explain what the 11-day experience is like?
3 different events that I'm aware of right now. There's a 7-day intensive, which has got 4 ceremonies in it. And then there's the 11-day, which was a combination of North American and South American medicines, being peyote, San Pedro, doing inipis or temazcal, and then the ayahuasca. And then I had a wonderful experience of just doing the ayahuasca in like virtually literally in the jungle. Total different events, different experiences, different price ranges. But the 11-day, to answer your question, Andrew, it was because you were talking about the peyote and stuff. It was a really great experience opening up the heart, then going in from a loving space into the ayahuasca, and then working with that for the days that we did, and then coming back into a really loving space with the San Pedro, because the cactus medicines are very heart-centered. And so it was the beginning of my journey, which some of you know about my previous past from a previous Zoom meeting we had of dealing with alcohol abuse and abusing my body, abusing my whole being. And it's ironic that I dropped this beer tonight and it sprayed all over the place.
It's a blessing,
Vomit story.
It vomited all over my desk tonight. So the universe was definitely saying, you're not going to be drinking a beer tonight. No, but I had a long period of time of abusing alcohol, and all the way to the point that my wife was ready to say, oh, adios. And so I saw one of the quotes, messages in the chat here, Eagle Eye Vision. You said you don't need the medicine to achieve the same effects. Yes, I would agree with that. And what happened for me with doing the ayahuasca and starting 6 months earlier with the heart-based 11-day retreat was that it got me into loving myself in a way that out of the 25 years of me doing personal growth work, I could not get to. And with the major transformation last January, that's still going on to this day. And every day is just unfolding a little bit more magically or beautifully, lovingly in my life, my relationship, my family, me observing the world. So I'm verbally vomiting.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well,
And
I
so,
think
yeah.
the coolest part of the story is the dog that would always bark and charge at you, and then after your journey, it came up to you and was friendly to you.
Finally,
kids and dogs.
I like your energy now.
Yeah,
That's
he's
right.
like,
Kids and dogs, you can't lie to them. They see straight through you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you cleared that. You can just see
well,
the
remember,
wag.
remember, there's three things that tell the truth all the time: small children, alcoholics, and yoga pants.
Unless it's the Amazon yoga pants.
Wait, I gotta meme that one, Monty.
Robert, you're right though, because I feel like I absolutely agree with you, Andrew, that it's not for everyone, the plant medicine. And I believe that whatever consciousness you enter into the plant medicine with is the consciousness you're going to be greeted with. And so if you have a lot of anxieties or fears and you're not willing to face them, then yeah, it's going to be a rough ride. But me too, I've been on this journey for like 25 years, and I just felt like that I wanted, I wanted to spice it up a little bit. I wanted to try something different. And the ayahuasca, and then of course, like the mushrooms, completely opened a door that I hadn't been able to open or maybe even found access to in a while. And, like certain fears and anxieties that or not even fears, but fears, yes, anxieties that I had been having that had been building over the last couple of years, like were almost non-existent immediately after the ceremony. And it's, you have to be in a place that's, like you said, like to be willing to surrender. You have to be able to surrender, but it's unreal what can happen when you have diligently been putting a lot of the self work in, and you've been doing the healing for, it's not so much amount of time, but whatever depth you've been going to, I think can have a dramatic effect on your experience and what can actually transpire through the whole journey.
Yeah.
One of my last ayahuasca experience, the medicine was speaking to me very clearly, and it said, in 15 years, there probably will not be ayahuasca left on the planet. It's being abused that much.
And and bastardized.
There's no beyond that. The sacred groves are not regrowing. And if the sacred groves do not regrow, the medicine will only be left with those who have it in their DNA, meaning we naturally produce DMT and we'll have to learn to do it without it. And the way the vision came to me and the way it showed me that the amount of people that are doing ayahuasca as a religion was wrong. It was never meant to be a religion. It was meant to be for those that are stuck, like Robert in his situation, or some others who have gone so down whatever mental issues that they had that they couldn't break it and they needed medicine to help them. And that they should only be doing medicine 2, maybe 3 times their whole life. And then they stop and learn to get to the medicine space without it. And unfortunately, a lot of the tourism that's going on, ayahuasca tourism that's going on, it's great for the local population, but ultimately it's not advancing the actual people who truly can use it for a different purpose, because the volumes that it is, it's almost like women's night in some of these places throughout there. It's buy 1 cup, get 1 cup free at a bar. Okay, the sacred groves are not being regrown, and there's not enough shamans out there that know how to regrow the sacred groves. And as they begin to synthesize, you will lose the sacred aspect, and all that will be left is the inner work that you've done before you've got to the medicine. And right now, the inner work that you do when you come with the medicine, it's equaled by the medicine. And when you get to the space of loving surrender and allow that love into you and your love into it, the medicine goes into the super space where it will show you, help you understand, love you, whatever it needs to do to complete the spiritual circuit. So that when the journey is done, you can take a vision 4 months, 6 months, 8 months later, and just think about it and come back to that space. Because your journeys have never ended. No matter how many that you've done, they've never ended. And I've counseled many people doing 80, 100 ayahuasca ceremonies. And I tell them, at what point are you going to stop? And they can't perceive that. And what came out of my long-term vision with that was, how do you get people to truly understand what medicine is used for, who's ready for it, who's not, how to prepare them, and then ultimately how to say no to people. Because after that was the last public event that I ran with groups. And I spent years practicing to, learn how to do it and do it with people. Lots of life force energy. you know, that also includes other medicines too, but I didn't need to carry that medicine as a daily active teacher anymore. And letting it go was the greatest learning experience I've had in all of the things that I've done. By giving it back and saying, I can't be a part of the industry, but I can be a part of the medicine.
I've got a feeling when I reach that level of consciousness, the first thing I'm going to hear is, where the hell have you been?
And I think, you know, going with the story, you know, setting the intention like Nicole did before, you know, and I've done, you know, that's the key, because then the surrender lets you come into the journey. And as Andrew said, you know, experience
I've done
it after it.
I've done it with Dave.
Yeah. And it
You want to share your
intention.
experience? Yeah. You want to share your experience?
Yeah, mine took a while to kick in. So the group,
I remember talking to you at the fire. It's not kicking in. I'm like, yes, it is, Dave.
Dave's here, Dave.
and then so we were sitting outside looking up at the sky, and all of a sudden the sky, because I asked to see the secrets of the universe, and it broke into all these different like portal type sections, and then flashing different symbols and that, and kind of like connecting your multi-dimensional self and teleporting, and, you know, going to all these different consciousness spaces, you know. And earlier, I think it was that same night, you know, I was looking at Andrew, and Andrew's face was changing. It was constantly changing with different you know, almost, you know, like tribal symbols, and, you know, one eye color, the other eye not, and it just, you know, for like a minute, it just kept going. Then he was in like a stormtrooper type suit too, you know, whether, you know.
You were seeing the spiritual armor. You were seeing the spiritual armor.
I was going to say, hopefully the Star Wars stormtrooper, not the
that's why you know, it's like Starship Trooper, you know, something beneficial kind of. It wasn't, you know, the aggressive, but it, you know, it was, you know, I just looked at him, and he morphed into it. So it was that was interesting. But then, you know,
you were seeing the spiritual armor.
And but then, you know, experiencing, you know, since it was the mentorship group, you know, we talked about it, you know, month or 2 months after it. But, you know, right when I got home, I experienced that again. You know, I was doing Qigong, and it was like, oh, I'm back into that space. You know, like you said, it never ends once you're in it. Yeah. Ongoing foreverness kind of deal.
Do you remember
and the recognition's paced at your exact pace? Like, whenever I do an axial initiation on someone, which is profound, again, when someone shifts like that, I'm forever saying to them, it'll unfold at your pace, the way that you've dictated it, the way that you can consciously adapt it, the way that you can. Yeah, Mont.
Well, when did you did mine? What, 2009, 2010, or something like
that? You'd remember that better than me, but yes, probably.
Yeah,
it's still unfolding.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you know, for a nanosecond, I was offended when Andrew called me a lazy time lord. And then I realized, well, yeah, because instead of trying to speed up and travel through time, I'm doing the reverse. I'm slowing down, and I'm breaking out of time that way. It's very odd, very human, but that's my experience. It's like, oh, you're late. I mean, I had someone say, oh, you're nearly 50. Did you ever think you'd be here? I'm like, nah. Like, I'm just trying to live each day, and like, you and your calendars, whatever. And yeah, it's because I know I've had a moment where, you know, I exist forever, and I've taken that on board, and that's sort of like an excuse of, well, you should do this. Yeah, but I live forever. Like, that's the lazy part of the Time Lord. Like, it's like, yeah, I'll get to it. You know, it's my no plan.
So Dave,
but it's that beauty when you give it intent, when you've given the intent for that transition, and I'm ready for this to come in, and then you've taken a pure accelerant like you guys did, like with your ayahuasca, you know, the peyote, all of that. It's amazing how the consciousness will open, like the subconscious servo mechanism opens the gate for that to come through to the conscious. In your experience here, it's really like I can't talk about how privileged and how super cool it is to see as a person that gets to witness it. It's really cool. Whenever I've gone to these things, I can't do the group thing unless I'm there as a carer, as the healer. I never actually do it. Like Andrew was saying, I don't do any of the experiences with people. Every time I've done it, it's been somewhere in the jungle on my own without any audience that would, it's where I've been taken into a tribe or taken into a party that it's in truly sacred space. But it was never done to me. The one that down in the jungle, down in South America, the Ayahuasca down there was with a phenomenal shaman. It was very traditional. And he was doing the whole, I don't think I've ever confessed this to anyone, but he was doing the whole, you've got to cleanse the heart. And I vomited what I thought were scarab beetles at first. And then were black spiders. I'm not sure. Wow, there's a lot of them.
It's very common.
And they, is it? Oh, okay. Yep. And they just scattered. They're also a bit like sort of crystal beetles, Christmas beetles as well. They had that beautiful iridescence to them. They were just, anyway. But
some people cough up little baby elves.
Oh.
Like 3 inches tall. Let's vomit up those also. They're little people.
But that went on for ages. And I was doing a session on a woman. Oh, this is about 10 years ago. I was doing a session on a woman that came to me with fertility problems. Comes for the physical healing. And out of nowhere, in the middle of the session, on the treatment table, she just sat up in this really unnatural way, right? The body just went, and she sat up and then gagged and then went back down. And afterwards in the session, I just kept going, as you do. Afterwards in the session, she said to me, oh my God, I sat up and I vomited spiders. I vomited something like scarab beetles and everything. And I said to her, really? It was like about a year after I'd had that experience myself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, really? That's it. She had to, after that, like 6 weeks later, she rang me to tell me she was pregnant. She'd been trying to have a baby for 13 years. And clearly she had to clear that heart for it to come in. But it was just, whenever I've done it, I've been really lucky that, because I've also been told that I don't really need it. It's more for the experience. And then yet when I went down there, he was so clear and so impatient, the shaman, as they can be, that I had to do this and clear the heart. You got to get that shit out of there. That was really, and, but yeah, it's more like Andrew, if I go with a group, the focus turns to me. Mm-hmm. And it's, and so I always sit right at the back and I'm just there as everyone else's healer. And so, I'll carry you through it. I'll help you vomit. I'll hold the bucket if I have to. Try not to be too projectile. Don't want to be spraying on.
You get very close to a person who's projectile vomiting out of both sides. So Dave, what you were talking about was the first night. Do you remember the second night?
Ooh.
They're probably all one experience for you now.
Don't have to
was
share.
That where well, I'm trying to separate. Was that where there was the incident?
Yes, that was the second night where she fell over and I caught her right away. Yes.
Right. And then the two of them, someone had an experience, and she and Andrew's faces were changing now too. It was like they were going through time.
Yeah. Because she was falling and she would have died if I didn't catch her. She would have hit her head on a concrete platter because she wasn't supposed to be smoking anything, any cigarettes, any green. She was, and she snuck it, and it ended up backfiring on her horribly.
Yeah, she walked back into like the ceremonial space, and it wouldn't let her in. It blew her back out. Mm-hmm. And then Andrew saw it happening. We were sitting there, and it was like slow motion. He jumped up and grabbed her before she hit the ground, the concrete. So.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. And once again, that needed to happen for her. That absolutely needed to happen for her because it put her back into the space of, you can't avoid this anymore, whatever was going on with her. But do you remember when Laura's feet were in the air and she was running on the Rainbow Bridge for 6 hours?
Riding the bicycle.
Yeah, she was literally laying on her back with her feet going like this, and she was running on the Rainbow Bridge for 6 hours and talking to us, full conversation, both on the other side and on this side at the same time.
Yeah, and it started off with purging, and she was like almost miserable, and then boom. She was on the Rainbow Bridge.
And she earned that through all the good work she did. And that was the medicine gift for her, was seeing the Rainbow Bridge and being on both sides, talking to us all, relating the experience, having the experience. And then when it was all over, realizing her feet had been in the air for 6 hours pedaling, literally 6 hours of pedaling. And we tried to get her to stop. Nope, I'm still running. I'm still going. Okay. And that's the variety of experiences people can have. Some people have awful experiences. Do you want to share anything else, Dave?
Well, in Barbados, that journey, with the fire and,
Special.
nature and watching, we started it so that we would see as dusk approaches. So you'd see, different visualizations of, the nature around you as it went to night. And then you took more doses and, had this huge fire. It was,
and then being in the mill house too.
Yeah.
Special
place.
I missed it. What were you taking in Barbados?
San Pedro.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I never touched that, but I'm tempted to look into it after Robert was saying
San
how
Pedro
is
is just mescaline. It's the same thing that's in peyote. It's the same ultimate compound. It just affects you much. All right. So if you take peyote buttons, which are dried buttons, and you put them into a tea, in about 5 hours, you'll experience something. Okay. Mm-hmm. With grandfather San Pedro, it's a cactus that grows up instead of a peyote button. And what they do is they cook it down in a certain way so that you absorb it. And it maybe takes 3 hours, 4 hours to take into effect. So a little faster. So it's easier on the digestion. But once you start adding your next cup and your neck, it compounds the experience. Where peyote, once it does kick in, it's colors. And then you have microvision. You could look at your hand and notice everything about it, or macrovision, look at the stars and understand everything. And you cycle through macro and micro visions about whatever you're going through. But on San Pedro, it wants to take you on a journey about yourself, about how you love, how you receive love, and then the environment that's working with you. And the environment that I crafted for that particular event is we had a very special place that we're using, and we had this giant fire. We had a great shaman that was working with us. And as we took a little bit more and a little bit more and got to our peak, it was about midnight when we peaked. So we started at like 6 and it went on to like almost 6 in the morning. But at the midnight fire, let's see, it must have been at least 8-9 feet tall, quite literally. And you were 30 feet away and you could feel the heat. But at that point is where the conversations began. What's your experience? Telling the stories by the fire and getting into that human share experience. Which then created some incredible laughters and the different stories that came out. And then we have a swimming pool there too, where once you reach the peak, you could hop into the swimming pool, cool your body down, come back out, and your experience would come back 15, 20 minutes later with a super intensity behind it.
And then the mill itself, there was a 500-year-old mill that had originally
mill house,
that had originally been there. They was a molasses plantation.
Yep.
Or you had to make that, for the trade, the rum slave trade in that. But you could see how it went through centuries of different use, from animals, humans to belts and machines.
It had this vine growing out of it, and the base of the vine was like that thick and wrapped all the way around. So imagine this mill house being about 90 feet wide and 70 feet tall.
With no top,
no top, 3-foot brick walls, 4-foot brick walls, and you could look up. And I remember you and me looking up and watching the stars go by, because it was like its own little slice of heaven. And then it would rain on us and stop.
And there were candles all over the wall, so that was the only thing lighting the space.
Yeah,
it was.
I just remembered. Is it Young Guns 2? The group. I
think it was
Lou
1.
Diamond. It's 1. Yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips actually taps. He gives everyone peyote, and it's interesting to see how everyone reacts to it. Like Lou actually, I think he sees a white horse coming towards him, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. He actually has a vision quest. And then you just see everyone else, like one guy's just staring at his hand for 8 hours, and there's another one just shooting indiscriminately in the canyon. I don't know why that popped into my head, but it's one way of showing that you do the inner work. If you work towards it, you'll have the experience that you need. But if you decide like, oh, we're going out, we'll just have some peyote, you're going to have the experience that you're at. It's level based in that respect. It's just I just explain stuff through movies. Can you tell?
Well, it's given me a note for the trip. Make sure everyone's disarmed.
Yeah. I would recommend that.
Yes, we don't want anyone randomly shooting.
And also Millhouse. It's all coming up Millhouse from The Simpsons.
No, it was because after the experience, then we went to Harrison Cave.
Oh, yes.
Which is and did the tour. They said, oh yeah, we'll get you this special tour. And we said, okay, that's cool. And when you get there and they give us, elbow pads, knee pads, a helmet. And
an underground tour through the mystical caves.
There's the tour bus, that's there are people on a wagon behind a vehicle pulling them down, and they go down and come back up. And we're climbing up into what they call it, the birth canal, where they're not sure where the water comes from as it filters down. It's so pure, and that's why Barbados rum has its characters, is the water there, the crystal.
The water in those caves, it takes 1 million years for the water to percolate into those caves. That's how old that water is. The first time I went into that water, it was like literally pulling out everything. Because I just got into the water and did like this. And then there's the big ballroom cave where the water's coming out of the ceiling that you can swim in.
Yeah, jump in, and in some of the places the guys are like, just lay in here. And
you're like 2,000 feet. You're like 2,000 feet underground. You're that far underground,
and the water's cold and refreshing, and that because it's also humid, in the cave. But then to get out, the final thing was crawling through this tube in pitch blackness. You're on your hands and knees, and they, kind of guided by the heels of the person in front of you. There's water coming against you down this as you're climbing out this pipe for, I don't know, like 100 meters or something.
Yeah. You're literally, and it's covered in mud on the bottom, and that mud is ancient pure mud that's pulling junk out of you. Yeah, I designed a very unique experience for my mentorship students.
So, well, basically, we're just going for a tour, and then all that happened.
Yeah,
it reminds me of my little joke, which I'm sure I'm going to manifest and freak people out. The first thing that happens when you come into 5D is someone hands you a 6D bus pass. And you spend a millennia going, what the fuck is this? What, a 6D bus pass? Why do I need a bus pass? And it's like, I'm just fucking with you.
No, Frida was asking, where are you? Where is the cave? You're still in Barbados, aren't you?
No, yes. I'm not. It was in Barbados. It is called Harrison's Cave. You can look it up.
There you go. That was Frida. Yeah. Frida was asking that one. But oh no. I love it. I love the unplanned delights of tours. Like when you take people, I'm really lucky that I have amazing facilitators and staff that work with me and that are brave enough to work with me. And particularly when it comes to travel, whenever we travel, the most amazing stuff happens, always unexpected, always amazing. It's meant to happen. It's who you're meant to meet. It's what's meant to go on. But I have had a couple of them say we need to write a book about, like Monty's always talking about, we need to do something called Conversations with the Couch, because of the conversations we always have on the couch. But I'm looking forward to the conversations on the travels, Mont. We're going to have some pretty awesome ones. But I love that. Yeah. I love the unexpected, where you're led to where you're meant to be.
Like, well, I'm getting the feeling that I'm staying here till 25. Stay alive to 25. And once we get past that shit, once Pluto fucks off out of Capricorn, then we'll probably start doing something. I'm just saying. Because the United States, I'm going to talk about World War III, all right? Wait 2 fucking hours.
Okay, go.
Well, not World War III, but it's fascinating. I'll spin it this way. It's fascinating where the global narrative, it's doing its thing, and to me it looks like it's collapsing slowly, or it's definitely changing.
Yeah.
However, everyone's personal timelines, their personal narratives, where achieve, like, you know, going to Scotland and ayahuasca and everything else like that, and it's I giggle at the duality of how it's unfolding, where all this shit's happening. It's like that Bill Hicks thing. It's like, you know, if you watch CNN for 14 hours, you know, war, famine, death, AIDS, war, famine, you look out your window, where's this shit happening? And it's similar to that.
Dave, did you get to use the Lucia light in the journey?
Oh yeah. I love the Lucia light.
Yeah,
I spent a lot of time in front of that.
and the float too, because I had a float tank and a Lucia light and a PMF mat with IR goggles in it, so you could even go deeper into your journey.
And started the day with yoga and great food, and all around healing growth experience. But back to Monty, what do you think about Nord Stream 2? It just happens to blow up.
Well, there's a Russian passport there found in the water.
Yeah, like you said, just like 9/11, the mayor's walking with his security guy, and here's a terrorist passport. We know it's them now.
We only found a finger of a fireman, but we found the passport. Yeah. It's the Nord Stream thing. It's Tim Paul tweeted, I cannot logically figure out why Russia would bomb their own pipeline. And it's someone like someone said, oh, Biden did blah, blah, blah. I think it's the puppets are puppeting, if you can say it that way. But a small group of people, they're causing chaos. Because was it the same day or the next day, another pipeline was announced from Norway or something like that. Yeah, and so
it's the same day, actually, the same day.
Yeah, the same day. Yeah, like we're getting, how do I say it? We're getting transparency via hypocrisy, which is so Earth, isn't it? Like, instead of like, oh, we want accountability and everyone to be arrested and everything else like that. And I'm going to say Prime Creator said, no, I'll show you through hypocrisy because you have to save yourself type thing. And you're just seeing how ridiculous, like this week, Biden finished announcing something and then just wandered off into like, Mr. President, I've talked to Andrew about this. It's getting to the point where journalists are taking risks because you can't hide it anymore. We knew Biden was like this mid-2020. However, now he's getting that bad that it's like everyone, great Australian term, even blind Freddie can see it. My question is, who's Freddie? Who was this blind man called Fred that everyone likes? Fred's a very smart man. And so basically,
the Russians, the Russians spend billions with this engineering feat to deliver gas.
Yeah.
And just when they're going to open it, let's blow it up. And, Biden came, they have Biden on video saying Nord Stream 2 is not going to happen. We have a means to stop that, a couple months ago.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And what makes the world go round? Basically money, it's economics. Why would Russia want to stop having that income?
90 billion. They spent $90 billion on the project.
Yeah, and they're going to make how much from it? So while we have finished our pipeline. What would be funny? Why don't we blow it up in 3 different positions? This would be Vladimir would laugh his ass off. It doesn't make sense, like, economically, because it all comes down to money. Even where they're going to crash the economy, everything else like that. But the controllers who are behind not behind the curtain, behind 17 curtains, they'll still find a way of making money or keeping control in their own special way.
And there are people that watch transponders, of planes or ships or whatever in the area, and they were watching the US 6th Fleet had ships in the area, and all of a sudden their transponders go off.
Yeah,
come on,
we learned that
come
from
on sometime later.
Yeah.
CIA comes out and says, oh, we suspect there may be terrorists plot on to Germany, And
well,
then
we
it
learned that
happens. It's like boom, they set it up.
Yeah, we learned that at 9/11, where 19 Saudi Arabians with box cutters, which are Stanley knives for the Australians, blades this big. They took over 4 planes and crashed it and did what they did. So, like, well, how did they turn off the transponders for all the 4 planes? Because, like, they were in Florida learning to fly, not to land, just to fly. But somehow these people, Ahmed, quickly get the tweezers out and cut and like, there's so many holes. Basically, people ask, well, who did 9/11? I don't know. All I know is the official story is not what happened.
Yeah, because it burned so hot that it melted concrete and steel. But this passport survived, and we know who did it.
Well, yeah, and also you would have the pancake effect. Like, if a building like that did collapse, there would be rubble, but it just turned to dust. Like, apparently physics had a day off, the first time in history, before and after. It was, I remember Andrew actually saying that 9/11 was such a big event. Even the prime creator looked over his paper and said, "What was that?"
his pager went off there, and all the other high level beings there, bing, 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 bing.
Yeah,
all the prime creators and their high agents are all working together, having dinner. Beep, 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 beep.
What the fuck is it? This hasn't gone off for about 60 million years. And even like, psychically on the planet, was such a big event that 24 hours beforehand, people felt the actual event. They didn't know what it was, and they couldn't predict it. But 24 hours before, everyone's like, well, not everyone, but there were people like, what's this? And I heard someone actually say, if there's going to be nuclear war that is so devastating and turn us into Mad Max, even if it's in 6 years' time, we'd be feeling it now, because it will ripple out through the timeline.
So some interesting 9/11 facts. I think it was 20 of the state's lotto numbers had 911 in it, the pick threes. All sorts of things that could never aligned throughout all the states.
And that was just natural synchronicity. It wasn't the prime, it wasn't the universe universing. It was just a result of the action, and it spread out.
The day before, yeah.
33
states had 9/11. Yeah, it's something crazy like that. And there's a bunch of other weird things that aligned like that too. If you look up the 9/11 things that happened just before, as we all psychically do something like that. Now, I'll add something to Nordstrom. So it was an event that was made into a nothing burger, even though it did happen in our physical timeline. Something came in and stopped a whole bunch of other reactions to actions to reactions to actions from it. It stopped a whole bunch of things. And right now, a tremendous amount of the controllers' influence is now being looked at like, whoa, something just pulled the rug. They were doing an experience that was going to change a tremendous amount of timelines, and something pulled the rug out from underneath it and said, no, you're not doing it. And we're going to get a bunch more, no, you're not going to do these again.
Curious, Andrew, like, speaking of like these pipelines and timelines and all of that, something that I've noticed since the Lionsgate, like a very serious uptick, has been around actual time. And this crazy, like, you're losing time, you're gaining time, time slowing down, time speeding up. And I got this download around time acting as like a portal, almost like a reflective portal right now into alternate realities or timelines. And I wonder, like, what you've received around this, because it feels to me like this particular Lionsgate was a lot more lengthy and powerful than I feel like the last few.
It opened 2 days ahead of time, and it was opened up to 19 days afterwards.
It felt like open for a long time. And there's something like that. We have this ability right now to access through time, the ability to operate in almost simultaneous timelines to help either collapse one into this one or shift things so that we're able to, I guess, I don't want to say stop the veering off, but maybe like pull it back, or I don't know. It's been
take the collective out of the words and remind yourself it's an individual experience first.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's an individual experience of you pulling yourself out of a timeline that was created for you that doesn't have all the beneficial things that the awakening is supposed to have. And it's a way for your precognitive workforce to warn you. In this last Lionsgate, I gave plenty of warning ahead of time that the personal meltdowns are going to happen. And all those people that were avoiding stuff, there was no way for you to avoid them, which is actually what you're talking about. All those different things. You see, you've dealt with tremendous amount of your inner issues to the point you're now seeing the nuances and the semantics of how time functions for you as a practitioner, and the work that you need to do with others to remind them it's an individual journey, get out of the collective awakening process and understand time is different. I will give these set of words. We are net positive with time at the end of every day. I would actually say that the majority of people who are doing 1 ounce or 1% of spiritual work gain about an extra actual hour in the day. And those that are doing more spiritual work are getting 8 to 10 hours in the day of actual time, but they're completely unaware that the time that they get is a multidimensional time in which they can work on many subjects at once, as long as it's an avoidance subject. I'm avoiding myself, looking personal relationships. I'm avoiding my financial situation. I'm avoiding people, places, things. As long as it's about stopping the avoidance mechanism, you will have more time to actually deal with it than the time that there is in the day.
And that's really interesting because that's what I experienced. I experienced literally receiving more time. Literally in one of my apps, I was gifted more time than, and not like that's something that happens in the app. Like I just saw, I'm like, how do I have this much time still in this when I know I'm not supposed to? And so I thought, okay, it's just a glitch in the app. Let me close out the whole app, whatever, and then I'll restart. And it was still there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening. For those that are ready to do the work and have been doing the work, the more work you do, the more time you have to do it, because we are reaching a critical mass. What is it going to be? I don't know. And I don't want to know, because if I knew, there'd be no point in being here, would there?
Yeah.
I want to experience it with everyone else. And if I have to eat my shoe, I'll eat my shoe. And I've been saying for 10 years, nothing's going to happen tomorrow. Do I still think nothing's happening tomorrow? Yes. The day after? Yes. 9 weeks? I don't know. But tomorrow and the next 2 weeks, things are okay. Work on yourself.
And also remember, knowing everything, when you become all of creation, you are bored in a nanosecond.
Mm-hmm.
That's why all of this has been created. Like, you're all there is, was, and will be. Fuck it. Go-karts. That's what I know. Yeah, all right. Go-kart. Yeah.
Okay. And Eric, in the 2 weeks, yeah, do something with the 2 weeks. Work on yourself. Go have fun. Do something different. Break out of the rut and cycles that you're in.
Yeah. Another
use
movie
your
quote.
gift on you.
Yeah.
Another movie quote from the Tom Hanks film from the 80s called The Money Pit, where this couple buys his house and they have to renovate it. And the workers constantly say, so when are you going to be finished? 2 weeks. And that's just a running gag for 90 minutes. 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, just 2 weeks.
Just 2
Stay
weeks.
alive to 25. It's in 2 weeks' time.
What is it with guys always knowing movie quotes from like 30 years ago?
Because he's a Gen Z. He's a Gen Z.
Being old.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry,
X.
he's a Gen Xer. Sorry, Gen Xers.
I'm 3 weeks older than you, buddy.
I know, Gen Xers are all about movie quotes.
Yeah, there wasn't social media. We just watched a lot of movies in the 80s and the 90s.
And then we got
It's not just
search
guys.
engines.
I do that.
And then we got search engines that listed all of the quotes we knew. That was the key.
Yeah, and so that's where we find Mandela effects or our memories going. Like, the whole Darth Vader thing. Like in memory.
I think it's an incredible skill.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. That's why you go into entertainment. Like, there's people that know. I know how a car works conceptually. I'm shithouse at being a mechanic. It's just better for pop culture references for comedy and everything else like that. Unfortunately, as I kept mentioning films from the 80s, anyone under 30 is like, what? It's because in a way, say in the 80s, for those that were there, Well, here in Australia, there was only like 3 channels. I think in the States, before cable, there was only like 3 channels, ABC, NBC, you know what I mean, SBL, 4 channels. Yeah, basically. And so there was a very narrow sort of information stream. And since the internet has come up and you've got streaming and everything else like that, that's why, this show's popular, it gets 2 million. So like, well, Doctor Who got 14 million back in 1979. Yeah, but there was only 3 channels. And so the choice is split off. And so everyone's going into their own pocket little dream world at the same time. And it sucks as a stand-up comic to do references because you have to try and find the base level of references. I watched a small clip of what's the singing show, The Voice, where the judges turn around with their chairs. A contestant said, yeah, I would make up different song lyrics to parodies, and someone said, oh, that's how I started to learn songwriting, by changing the words. And then another judge said, yeah, just like Weird Al Yankovic. And half the room had no idea who he was. And he's the greatest parodiist, music parodiist in history. Name another one. Like, he's been going for 40 years and he's popular. But what I'm getting at is through the control of history in a certain way, in entertainment, a lot of young people have no idea about things like, oh, Black Panther's the first black Marvel superhero. Fuck off, Blade. With Wesley Snipes. And that's just another example where, 1984, those who control the present controls the past, which controls the future, because they think by limiting the knowledge, you can twist and do gaslighting and change everything. And yet then you have, well-read, or, that term, they're well-read. That's because they read a lot of books and they learnt a lot of information. And that's an interesting part of what's going on at the moment as well.
Yeah. All right, everyone, we're going to call it an end of the show tonight. We are over time. Everybody, thanks for coming on and sharing your experience. Monty, you want to give a way for people to get a hold of you?
Wafer Thin Entertainment on Rumble, as well as Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And I haven't sent Robert the link. I've got a link tree, which I think is just Wafer Thin. There's a link to my t-shirt shop, which has It's Me, Isn't It t-shirts as an example. So I'm slowly building. And also for those in Melbourne, all 2 of you, I am DJing in 13 hours at a nightclub playing heavy metal and alternative, as well as it's daylight savings here tonight here in Australia. So at 2 a.m. And remember, it's spring forward and fall back. That's how to remember how the time change is. And so we're in spring, so we're springing forward. So there is actual time travel in my DJ set. So at 1:59, it goes to 3 o'clock. Now I don't finish. I still do the hour and a half. I'm not just doing half an hour. So that's at Ragnarok at the Root Bar in Melbourne, in CBD.
Melissa, giveaway for people to get a hold of you.
Easy to find me if you need session, if you need anything, if you want to book in, go to melissahawkinghughes.com. You can find me on social media everywhere. I've got a 7-day virtual retreat coming up, which is, I think, first few days in November, but not first few days. It's a 7-day thing. It's virtual. And if you're not on the mailing list, go to the website, melissahawkinghughes.com, join the mailing list, and because I never harass people on it. And I will send out links for all of that too, if you want to jump on that. But if you need me, you need session, you need help, you need healing, you want your axil, you know where to find me.
All right, everybody, you know who I am. You can go to my website, andrewbartzis.com, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or anywhere else. Also, as a note, we have the basics class going to be coming out shortly. Robert is in the midst of editing it. So every basic question you have ever heard asked is all into one product. 4.5 hour long, me and Monty going into the depths of the basics. So every question ever about the basic, it's a touchstone product that will have absolutely everything about the basics, and it should be coming out shortly. Keep an eye open for that. And if you're interested in having a session with me, you can go to my website and book a session through there also. We will be back this coming Thursday for another live call-in show. Everybody, thank you for coming in and sharing your stories, your experience, your love, your light. We honor you all. I thank you very much.
All right. See you guys. It was great to
Bye,
see you
everyone.
again.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence. Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important? Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Hello, let's create, let's co-create, and let's change this world with love. No matter if you're from Alpha Centauri or Earth, we all began with the same birthing process. We live in a limited point of view. Living the mystical life daily is about striving for the unlimited point of view. Each day, each human being gets an infinite amount of choices. Living the mystical life daily is about facing obstacles and challenges. The level of awareness that you are working at means you have a responsibility to be equal with it. How does one truly let go of expectation? You can make the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to sleep sacred. The keys to success: choice, 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 and choice.